All right. Let's call the June 14th, 2024 Central Board of Architectural Review hearing to order. Are there any members of the public who wish to address an item or wish to address the board regarding an item that's not on today's agenda?
Not seeing any raised hands and nobody in online.
Okay.
So no public comment.
Then the status report.
I do have a correction for item number 3, which is 24 BAR on the agenda. 24 BAR 23 Verizon. It should be 24 BAR 00070. It's correct everywhere else. It's just on the agenda. It's not.
So instead of 23, it's 70.
70.
Got it.
That's all.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the agenda status report. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes of May 10th, 2024. I didn't see anything.
No.
Just a typo on one of them. See about comment number 2.
We agreed that whatever they are, they are. Unless it's, I mean.
What was the typo?
It's include instead of include spelled wrong. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just a typo.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna worry about that today. Anything else? All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes. May 10th, 2024. Second motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You need to abstain. Okay. Informational briefings. We have a new member. This is Andrew, and what's your last name?
Petrosky.
Petrosky. Okay. And you're an architect?
Yes.
This is Denise and Chris, and I'm Bethany, and this is Teresa. You haven't met her yet.
Welcome.
Anything else? Anybody have anything else? Update? Okay. Recusals? Anybody have any recusals? Okay. Staff update, Ms. Nicole.
Chris is online.
Oh, Chris is online for Nicole. Sorry, Chris.
No problem. That's the update. My name's Chris Schmuckel. I'm a planner. I'm going to be subbing in for Nicole today since she is in another meeting. So I'll be helping y'all out. Looking at the projection report, there's one item that's coming up to the County Planning Commission. It's the appeal of the El Capitan Canyon campgrounds. That one's scheduled to go on July 31st. And since it's a design review item, it's something I just wanted to let you know about. Other than that, I have no other items.
They started to hear that, and then they had somebody who submitted some information, and it got everybody got their flummox, and then they decided to postpone it until they had a chance to share the information with everybody. So, okay. All right, and Nicole told you that we do the minutes at the end?
Yes, I will have the draft minutes ready to share at the end of the meeting so you can take a look at them.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll ask you to share your screen, and you just show us what you got, and we'll go through and we'll wordsmith them right then, so we don't have to mess with it today. Again.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So item number 1, this is our consent item. 24 bar 38, Bergener Garage. Do we have anybody? He's here. All right. Okay, why don't you come ahead and sit up here? You can sit at either of those 2 chairs there. And
That was good to have a seat at the table.
okay. let's see, the comments from last time were amend the note on the elevation sheet that identifies materials to say all materials, colors, and details are to match the existing residence, except the new stone veneer and the lighting, should say, which will be added to the existing residence to match the proposed garage. Can you point me out to where that is?
It's on the, square for the materials.
Okay. This one here?
Right here. Where the top, the title says something, right? What's the title say?
Existing finish and color. Schematic match existing residence, and then the lighting,
I didn't down below. Leave that. Can't read it, but I believe that says also.
okay, so this is the materials to match the residence, but didn't you tell us that you were going to be replacing the lighting on the residence to match the garage?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what we wanted you to note on here.
Okay, I guess because it says oil red bonds to match existing house, since the house is 2006, there's no dark sky. So we're changing the garage to the dark sky, which then will match the existing house.
But we wanted that noted that you're changing the ones on the house, because if I were to just open this plan set, I would assume that this light fixture here was what was on the house.
Then you there, am I missing anything? Well, Ben?
No, I think they're right. We just kind of misunderstood the comment, but I think what, so they're currently doing a remodel on the house. They're converting the existing garage. So that's what we're matching. The new light fixtures.
Well, then Ben, I think if we could add, where it says lighting, Minka, Kirkham, if you could change there, if you could add to that after 2700 kelvins or less, if you could add this light fixture to replace existing light fixtures on house.
Okay. That, you got it. No problem.
And then where it says oil rub bronze match existing house, you can say, you could, in there, you can say to match the fixtures to be replaced. That just kind of makes it clear that, you know, so we don't get into a circular argument later,
Okay.
you know, and it makes it really clear, all right?
Okay.
So,
And Francisco's online also, he can speak plan.
Yeah. So, Francisco, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a motion to approve this as a condition with that wording, and then are you comfortable verifying that for us?
Yeah, I can totally do that. Can you just repeat that second comment you made about so I got the first one after the 2700 Kelvin.
Yep.
What was that second one?
Okay, so after the 2700 kelvins or less, these fixtures to replace existing fixtures on the house. And then under the oil rub bronze, match existing house fixtures that are being removed.
Did you put in the?
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I added the notes on my plans that I'm going to approve, so I can check for that.
Online.
So Francisco, are you okay with that? You can verify that for us?
Yes, I can verify that.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys.
We get a second.
Guys.
Do you second?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like double up.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Francisco, you might want to mute. There you go. All right, so let me get open. Item number 2. You're good. You're finished. Get the heck out of Dodge.
Thank you.
Second. opening up all the. Okay, so this is, item number 2, 24 bar 55, Grupo Tanahan Winery Edition. Yeah.
You gotta see right here.
Oh,
Okay, sorry, we're still looking at the agenda. Here you go. Okay, we have a number of public comment letters. It was 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I'll do is, when we get to public comment, we'll show these up on the screen as well as, calling for public comment after the presentation. So, Michael, you're here for you do the presentation. So once you've finished your presentation, we'll see if there's any quick questions for clarification. Then we'll go to public comment, and then we'll come back to us for our deliberation, and we'll give you your comments then. And then we'll get you down the road. So, all right, go
Awesome.
ahead.
Thank you. My name is Michael Holliday. I'm the principal architect in charge of the project, and we have Matt and Suzanne from Wallace Group, our landscape architects. So we're here for concept review. So today's just comments only, but we're essentially taking a plan that was approved 12 years ago, a project that was approved on this site, almost exactly. You know, we refined the architecture a little bit, but it's located 1 Zaca Station Road. We're calling it Marami Winery, but right now we're referring to it as just by the address. So pretty amazing site, and the vineyards are all planted. It's right there off of 101 and Zaca Station. So it's kind of going to become a gateway project, is the way we're thinking about it. So the wine facility.
Well, it's 154 and 101 and
Yeah.
Zaca Station, right? Okay.
Yeah, so if you, maybe you can zoom in just a little bit. Well, we have some other photos, but that kind of gives you the context for the site. It's just about 100 acres, and we've really pulled the building back from where it is. It's essentially located the building in the same location virtually that it was originally approved. Yeah, maybe if we can even zoom in on this image right here. So here's 101, and here's right where the 154 comes in, and here's Zaca Station Road. So this is the whole 100-acre parcel that we have, and the main entrance of the building is being actually located on the far back. You probably won't be able to see the building at all from 101. You're gonna have to drive back here. But once you get back here, you'll see how we've sited the building pretty much as far off the road as we can, but also it's got to, work functionally for access, and it's gonna be a fully functioning.
Okay.
Put that on you. So here's some site photos. Yeah, this is great. So here's the entrance of 154. There's the existing winery. Here's Station Road. If you drive all the way down the road, this is what it looks like. So this is Chamberlain property. I've also got an email from Russell Chamberlain, our immediate neighbor, supporting our project. But here's the existing entry, and the property line for us runs right through here. So we're kind of collaborating with our neighbors, but the entrance is all the way around to the north side. And here's we're walking in to this area right through there. So just sort of gives you a sense for the, sort of beautiful context and existing layout. Additional site photos, all the infrastructure is already in for the vineyards and they're already planted. So we're just sort of building upon that. Next slide. Yeah, again, this shows where our building is going to be located. So, beautiful setting. This is what it looks like right now with all the vineyards planted, and our building is going to be located right there. So those photos that we just showed you were right back here in this back corner. So you'll be able to get slight glimpses of the building, but not much. Next. These are just some floor plan diagrams. We've done some exiting. Again, it's a 20,000 square foot maximum building. So we'll get into some more general details, but this gets into area legends and exiting. One of the things that we've had to do is bring this building up to current code. The original restrooms were undersized, the exiting quite didn't quite work. So we're trying to make this building work for today, to be a functional, winery facility, tasting facility. Next slide. Exit analysis, and I'll get into this in a little bit more detail, but basically the floor plans, we've had to limit the building to the 20,000 square foot maximum. So that's been really a challenge. Next slide. The building height is a, significant concern. The red line shows our maximum building height area. And so we've done all our analysis to make sure that the building is under the maximum allowable height. So we still meet all that criteria. And again, that's part of the planning review, but we've been through that process. I need to mention Brett Jones is our planner. So he's the one that's kind of helping us out with a lot of the, submittal process. Next slide, please.
Just a quick question, Michael. It says 45 foot, 35 foot if roof pitch is less than 4 12. So because of your roof pitch, you've got the 45 foot height?
That's correct.
Okay. And this is not triggering Hillside Ridgeline?
Pardon me?
This is not going to trigger Hillside Ridgeline because you're fairly flat there, or?
Basically, we think everything, it's not going to trigger any of the changes. So
Okay.
we're under the height limit.
Got it.
Here's a very, very detailed survey and site plan if there's any questions about this, but pretty amazing site. And you can see why we feel like this is going to really be a gateway project. As people come off Zaca Station, this will be a prime, either first winery to come to or last winery to come to before you get on 101 and head north or south. Next slide. I'll kind of hit the high points and then we'll come back to landscape and let Matt and Suzanne talk about this. But we've got this idea, sort of this, we want to get people off the road, and that's going to be actually a big rotunda turnaround area. So once you pull off the road, you can actually turn around a truck and get back on right now. I don't know if you've been out to Braven Maiden or some of the other wineries, but being able to have the gates right here and being able to let people realize, hey, am I in the right spot or not? That's kind of our concept. And then right after that, there's going to be sliding gates that, or operable gates here in this case, that this gate right here will be closed most of the time, but this is sort of the back house entry for sort of the backside of the winery function. So the trucks, the grape, harvesting and all that, that'll be done out here on the winery. It's going to be basically operating on that back area, but this is going to be a nice stone wall, kind of this curvilinear element. And then there'll be some gates that open up here as the primary entrance. So during hours of operation, this will be the direct sort of path that comes in here. And the old plan had us going under oak drip lines and everything else. So we've kind of taken the existing layout that was there and sort of made it work to meet today's standards. And maybe we can just zoom in a little bit. Here you come in this way and zoom into this whole little area. I'll give you a little orientation. And we'll probably come back to this when we look at landscape. Yeah, there we go. So, and then zoom out just a little bit, but function, as you guys know, on these wineries is a huge concern. So letting people kind of get where they want to come, get as quickly as possible. So the main approach will be, and we've kind of set this up. We've walked the entire site. We've walked this path of travel. And if anyone's interested, I'd love to meet with you out there and show you. We kind of set this up so that once you come in this roadway where this turns and the grade drops down, this is a little bit higher than the building here. You're going to get a great frontal shot of the building, sort of face back to this area. So you come around the corner, it's this like sense of discovery right here where you see the building and you're like, wow, great. Wrap around this little curved wall that comes into the parking, and here's the primary, parking area. We've got a secondary parking area up here. So that if this is full, then these people can be up here, and ADA compliant walkways that kind of get you down to the primary front entrance, which will be right here. And we've got a couple little courtyards out here, and I'll let Matt and Suzanne talk about that a little bit more. So it's not like the building slammed right up against the parking. We sort of buffered it with some landscape elements. And then maybe we can go down a little bit further just to see the rest of that site plan. Yeah, so now here the building is located in almost the same location that it was before. We've had to adjust it a little bit because of all these lines. that have been actually redefined. The creek's changed in the last 12 years. So we've been working with the county to define setbacks and criteria for where we can locate the building, and we're all outside of those setbacks. But essentially, as you come in the main central axis here, you come over to this side, which is primarily wine tasting and some food venues, and then a little bit of outdoor space. And then this is going to be sort of the big patio area that looks right down. And by the way, this is aligned perfectly with the vineyard rows. So when you come out there, you'll see what you're wondering, what's driving this orientation there. It's the linear orientation of the vines that are planted out here in the distance. And then this is sort of the back of house business operations back over here. Yeah, so that's, we can get into that when we get into the details, but it's really pretty much the way it was originally designed. We're just kind of, you know, taking it to the next level and making it work. Let's see the next slide. I think we're probably going to skip over some of these landscape slides and come back to them. Okay, survey, yeah, we've got a lot of information from Wallace Group on the civil, and we're working through all of that right now with grading and relocation of some walls and so forth. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is sort of the details on that entry that I was talking about. So we've done our preliminary grading analysis and made all this work so the trucks can get in here without too much, you know, hassle. There's some overflow parking out here on the end. But this is sort of the backside of back of house business side of the winery facility, and then we've done our preliminary grading to show how that works.
What are your materials for the drives and stuff?
Pardon me?
Materials?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Landscape
No
and
worries.
hardscape. Yeah. Next slide, please. This was the original submittal. So this was 12 years ago. Pretty much the same idea, but they didn't do the turnaround. They had the road going underneath this kind of heritage oak tree, which we've moved all that. But you can see we've kind of reworked this and kept the concept that was originally developed with the parking lot, the front little courtyard, the winery, and all of this. So virtually the same as what was originally approved. Next slide, please. We just put this in there so you guys can see this. This talks a little bit more about this, and I'll let Matt and Suzanne kind of talk through this slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, again, this is sort of some of the concepts, so we'll come back to this, just so you can get a sense for how we really want to develop the hardscape, and just like you were asking Bethany, sort of exterior spaces. Next slide. We'll come back to all these, and as I want to sort of focus my comments on the architecture. And then they'll walk through landscape. Okay, so here's our, hard to believe we're in concept mode, but we've already built our Revit model, and this is fully rendered to Enscape, just because our client is very interested in moving forward as quickly as possible. So hopefully we are able to do that. But we wanted to show you what it's going to look like. I mean, this is sort of that raised roof element that is going to be on axis. This is the tasting room. I'm going to walk you through the floor plan here in just a little bit, but this just gives you a sense for what that building is going to look like. Kind of, you know, our Western agrarian San Ynez Valley theme. We've got colors and materials to show you here in a little bit, but with the sort of faux wood siding, we've got the stone here, which would be like the you know, San Ynez sandstone. This is out on that. This is sort of that central element right here, which we do have a 3-story upper level area, which is sort of the wine, you know, the wine club place where you can hang out and go do your tasting. This is an overview of the whole south area here. And we're continuing to review and refine this. We're looking forward to getting your comments when we come back for project design approval. But, you know, here's the floor plan. Don't need to walk it through too much. Maybe we can zoom in on the bottom plan just to kind of give you a sense for how it needs to function. We've got kind of a top-notch team of winery consultants working with us on the flow. So yeah, if we can just kind of show the whole floor plan, I can kind of walk you through it. So here's that front entrance right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not showing the whole screen.
What's that?
This is showing the whole, there you go. Thank you.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Yeah, so here's the front entry right through here. That's that main entry, and then this goes right out onto the patio. So right when you walk in here, this is gonna be a beautiful sort of space with a reception, a little bar area right there. And then we've got a stairway that goes up and an elevator that takes you up to the next level. So sort of a little bit of a lobby area there. Most people will probably flow this way or flow right out onto the patio. So there'll be a little bar area here. And then this is the wine tasting room, and we've got restrooms right around the corner and some service functions right here and a little service kitchen right here. We are able to have a service kitchen as part of the facility, so they're able to prepare meals and so forth for the facility. So you don't come straight through it. You don't go over here to the wine tasting area, then you would go to this area over here, which is more of sort of the back of house wine components. Maybe we can zoom in on this a little bit. I can talk through the pieces of this project. This becomes our clients are really interested in this being like a showcase facility for San Ynez Valley wines. So as you come in here, you get a chance to actually see the setup, this is sort of another tasting room. All of this flows out onto this patio. This is like that large patio area here. And then you'd be able to look in and see all the wine storage and the barrel storage. And then, that works out pretty well. And then the whole back of house is sort of back down here. So pretty simple floor plan. That's the first floor. And here's the second floor plan. So if we can zoom in on that element, I can kind of walk you through those pieces. This is essentially the same way the original project was approved. Yeah, zoom in on that one if you can.
Come on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you come up the elevator or you come up the stairs. We've got restrooms up here. We've got this open space right here. So this 2-story volume is actually going to read from the ground floor up to this. So it sort of feels a little bit like a suspended bridge element that comes across. And then from this side, there's our elevator. And then this is the office areas. So we've got for the sort of work, the administrative part of the facility. This is all open to below. So this is going to be like a 2-story volume. I mean, the building kind of has a little bit of a national park kind of theme to it. So we like these 2-story volumes and spaces. You're going to be able to look from here down into that space, but the primary wine tasting area is going to have a nice volume to it. And then off to the side here is more of the special, tasting rooms. We got some individual tasting rooms up here with windows that look down into the wine, barrel storage facility, and an upper level deck with an outdoor fireplace. So you'll be able to come out here and, in the afternoon, it should be awesome to sit up here and look at the sunsets and look over this views here with stairways that go down. So that's the second level, and we'll go to the third level. Next slide, please.
Okay.
And I'm happy to come back and answer any questions. I'm just trying to give you, kind of high level overview. This is, maybe you can zoom in on that third level. So a real small third level kind of private wine tasting room for people that are members. And it kind of works with the architecture to have that little element up there. We've stacked our elevator, we stacked our stairs, no restrooms or anything up there, so you go down if you needed to, but it's like a little private club room with this little outdoor balcony, what we think would be pretty awesome to step outside and, be able to view both windows up here that look to the northeast, and this window here that looks to sort of the southwest. So those are the floor plans, and I'm happy. Here's a roof plan. We've cleaned it up quite a bit from what the original proposal was. So this will be a standing seam metal roof, kind of a dark gray, medium warm gray is kind of what we're thinking, but we're open to your comments and input on that. Roof plan, next slide, please. This shows the original building that was proposed, and then our blue line is our new building. A lot of this didn't work. Unfortunately, with ceiling heights, and this was again 12 years ago, so a lot has changed. But we tried to keep the integrity of the architecture. These are very rough, Vectorworks elevations, so they don't look that beautiful. But we've kept the sort of mass proportion, scale, and sort of volumetrics of the original building. And we'll go through these pretty quick. There's the front entry building. Next slide, please. There's the back, showing the way it was designed. So we kind of tried to keep all of those elements, you know, as close as we possibly could to what was originally envisioned. Next slide, please. And then the other two end elevations. This is sort of on the end that we've opened up and shaded. One of the requirements the state of California has put out was that we have to shade the workers in the afternoon for heat. So that's on the southwest side. That wasn't even a law when this building was designed. So we've opened this up and created some shade on the west side of the building, which is actually, I think, going to be quite nice. You can see this is very similar to what was originally approved. And these are just more diagrammatic massing studies to show how our project compares to the originally approved project. And then this is our first, kind of look at exterior facade systems. This gives you a sense for what the materials would be. And I'm happy to get into this in as much detail as you want to, go into, but we're trying to use, it's actually not going to be an actual wood, but it'll look just like wood. We've got some we have a high fire concern and all of that. So we're trying to work with materials that are sort of green and sustainable and also yet beautiful and look authentic and traditional. So this was the suggestions on the stone, the paint colors, the exterior materials. This is on the fenestration. We're just showing the level of documentation, kind of a existing metal window systems, and probably go with the Solexia glazing system, which is actually bird friendly. It's got a little bit of a slight green tint to it, but it keeps the birds from flying into the windows. This is some miscellaneous metal, so we love, we're going to try to work with authentic materials the most we can, with standing seam metal roof system with a corrugated metal roof that looks like that. And then the gutter systems and all these little canopies that stick out will be all consistent. So the idea is it all hangs together. We're not trying to do, too many fussy different ideas. So that's the first part of our presentation. Now, if we can go back to those original slides, we'll let Matt and Suzanne talk a little bit about the landscaping concepts and plantings. And right before this, I think it's probably a good.
Oh, wow.
One more thing. I think it's actually down on full time. Oh. Yeah, original plan. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys talk. Matt, you can kind of walk us through.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and good morning. So, as Michael mentioned, really, the idea of this is thinking through this procession space and how you get to the facility. We, really work hard to get the alignment of the road, such that you have these elements of, kind of surprise and this procession as you go into the space. So again, really the roadway is meant to, be this journey as you get into the facility. And then if you can zoom in primarily of this area here, I'll just talk through some of the exterior spaces and then turn it over to Suzanne to touch on some of the materials. Really, again, the idea of this facility is for it to be a family-friendly, really all-inclusive type of facility. And we really work closely with the client, with Michael and their team, to think about how we can break down this space. So in the front here, as you walk in, the idea is really to capture this grand entrance. And we're doing that in a series of ways. One is looking at flanking the entrance with some trees. We have some water features here, have a series of overhead art sculpture elements that allows for this grand procession as you get into the space. And then up into the parking area here, we play around with this idea of kind of this angular walkway with some ports and steel elements, and looking at how you can make this more of an experience, but then have kind of a straight shot that again allows that entrance with a lot of the glazing and windows there to have great views out and beyond. We wanted to clear up the exterior of the building as well, so you have this really spectacular view. And I thought about some art elements that could almost be at the end of that, punctuating it, but not necessarily blocking it really framing some views and, drawing the eye through the building and beyond. In the front here, we have a box set up, so, really, again, kind of breaking out space, but allowing for an area that can be, visited and walked through, and, looking at some elements that we can have to, again, punctuate some art, having some walls here to, block some of the views in some cases. So on this side here, we have some, stacked walls that match the materials of the building, and, again, allow you to really feel like you're in this intimate space, and, almost like an exhibit garden. In here, we have some art elements as well, so you have this nice alignment of features. And then there's this exterior space here, as Michael mentioned, there's a tasting room facility here. So there's a little bit of indoor outdoor that you can have for any type of events, allow for some outflow of that space there. Going to the back area, really it's meant to kind of have various features, and we really thought hard about how to break down that space as well. This raised lawn terrace is meant to be kind of the grand space for any type of venue, whether it be wedding or any type of venue of that nature. We have these kind of concrete elements here that are scattered throughout and kind of break down that space to allow for walking and again having some seating and all that there. On either side, there's these little seating nodes. One thing that the original plan had was a series of steps here, and we again wanted to make sure that we had this ability to get ADA access. Think about how it can be really, again, all inclusive or this element that you don't have a secondary ramp or something to go into that space. So we had to play with elevations a little bit, get that to work out, but we do have a less than 5% walkway coming down. And then with that grade, we're able to tuck in some small seating features, some water features in there, thought about maybe some fire tables and other elements in there. Up on the upper deck, there's some seating elements here, as Michael mentioned, that goes into this space here that's covered. And then on the side over here, this is really where we wanted to kind of break down that space a little bit more and bring in some family elements. So looking at elements such as handball, or maybe there's some ability to get bocce ball and things of that nature in there. There's a exterior fireplace, and so we looked at having some seating areas that would work with that, again, kind of in an intimate manner. And then there's an area for outdoor barbecue out here. And then really trying to open up this area back here for more children's exploration, topiary gardens, looking at having some honey gardens, trying to make this so that it's a family-friendly facility, but also allowing it to be somewhat separated. So if you had two different groups together, or say there's a large group here, you can still have this space operate. And that's somewhat separated by this butterfly garden, which we think will be a beautiful feature as you're looking through the space and then beyond into the vineyards, to really, bring some color, bring some nature up to the plaza spaces there. We did think about the operations over here, and have this wall feature that wraps around. There's some exterior space that was needed for the winemaking. We have that same cladded wall feature with some planting there and planters on either side, and really thinking about the views, trying to make sure that we're not obstructing those and we're trying to capture and frame those. So with that, I'll turn it to Suzanne. Suzanne, anything else to?
How about the materials for all your different paving?
I'll turn it to Suzanne, and then the next series of slides will get into the materials for the landscape.
As you said, the materials, what we are going to be using for the walls, we're going to try to complement and put it over And so we're going to do mixes of things like the sandbar stone, stainless stone, boulders. Hopefully, if there are any boulders that are excavated during the build.
This is like, hopefully doesn't blind anybody, but it's, you can see that, baby. All I see.
I see that in Santa Barbara.
So, we're also looking at things like, this is room this wall here, which is against, a stone wall, wrapped in open seal, could be a great, addition for, the work area, which is near the black ballroom, which has some noise to it, so that can actually help with noise abatement. Other materials that we were looking at include coaching steel, that we would probably be using, the steel as a retaining one, particularly in an area between the two parking lots. So that it gives you that sense of flow and also it will tie in with the building itself. In terms of the entrance, let me go back a little bit. You asked about paving and things like that. One of the materials that we are considering using in the circle is something like this, which is chip seal. Another option is gravel pave, which is the cell system that holds the gravel in place. And so it still looks like it's a gravel drive or a gravel walkway, but it has that retention so that gravel is not loose an issue. It also provides great permeability. We're also looking at, permeable pavers and flooding entries. In terms of the gates, our client would like us to use equipment steel gates. So we're in the process of designing what that's going to look like. But this is an inspiration of it. As you approach the building itself, like I said, we will have the walkway between the parking areas. When you get toward the entrance, the left-hand side and the right-hand side are areas to congregate. And we were looking at doing something with gravel and interspersing, these are paper structures that can stay in long linear papers. That way you could emphasize the areas where you have art you might use for it can allow for flex space or small parties to congregate. Or just someone who wants to go through the class and enjoy just a little peace and quiet which we retreat instead of in this bench. And we will also use materials that help direct and the biggest reader in terms of the papers, this is the inspiration used to pictures, our inspiration for that event area. That's the only area that we're actually probably have one in it. But this, by doing these kind of extensions, we can provide areas for people to set up chairs for the events, but still have a fairly large green space. In terms of some of the amenities, our client is very interested in this being family friendly. And so, it's not going to be a playground kind of situation. There are going to be some opportunities for nature play, whether it's mounding, we have gone through it, or even something kind of whimsical, like these pyramids that people can sit on and relax. Just in terms of, this is a beautiful property and we want people to be able to walk through and enjoy it. One thing that I don't think we mentioned in that much detail, but we can go back.
I need you to pick it up a little
Okay,
bit.
sorry. Okay, so we also, so the next.
Mhm.
In terms of the outdoor environment, there will be, large and small, seating areas, for people to taste and enjoy. There will be a tiny garden. This will be used as, again, a place where people can go sleep, but it will also have a function to actually, use for fires and plant material that's in the dining garden, sitting winery. In terms of the back area where we were talking about, a focal area, we were thinking that's something that could actually, provide a frame to the rest of the vineyard when we're going through the entrance. We have something like this, and additional artwork, which will, water features in the back area. We were considering some kind of garage, and in the front of where we have two other water areas where it would just probably be a fountain of some sort with just some water. Next slide, please. Thanks. My favorite thing. So this is actually more in terms of the front entrance, the type of water feature that we're thinking. Obviously, when we create the plant palette, one of our main emphasis is to make sure that we're using climate appropriate developed plant plantings, that wherever possible we can use native plants, and wherever possible that we are keeping native plants better on site. So in terms of the plant palette, we have everything from Manzanita, different types of Neomergia, this, all kinds of stages, for some of the pergolas or the flower leaves of this area. And in terms of trees and accent trees, of course, things like Quercus agrifolia, keystone coming. It's very important to us that we also create meadows, pollinator gardens that will attract native wildlife, birds, and of course beneficial insects, all of which are a part of the ecosystem. So we are proposing one area that's going to be actually meadow, and then will augment it with the native properties, two different grasses, like green grass. That's for people to yarrow, delicious.
And asking you say, when you are speaking, can you kind of speak towards the camera over here, please? Because they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time understanding you online. Thank you.
Yep, okay.
So, any questions regarding the
I would like to know what your materials are, if you could point to the screen and tell me what the materials are for the paving.
So for the paving, as I mentioned, in this area, it will want to be permeable pavers or probably the gravel pave. The drive entrance at the moment is going to be a type of paver, permeable paver, or the parking areas are also going to be permeable pavers. The area, business area is going to be the gravel pave.
As well as this access.
Yes.
Okay.
And then in the back areas, we're going to use, here, pavers that would be set in ground cover. And in the front areas here, we are looking at either gravel or crushed shale, and then accents of the new pavers that we use.
Okay.
And this, I believe, is going to be a teaching model.
Yeah, so essentially that concludes our presentation for concept, and we're wide open for answering the questions. The only other thing I'd like to, just highlight, here's the roadway way out here.
Yep.
So we set it as far back as we can from the
that's
existing roadway. minimize the impact on the neighbor.
Denise, quick questions?
Quick questions. Oh, just, are you gonna different on the turnaround? Susan, are you gonna differentiate between the two materials right there?
Yes.
That's the idea.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have an approximate distance from the road to the nearest point of the
Well, here, we could probably tell you, scale it, but basically, we're trying to get it off the road right away, so there's about a
think
20-foot
he's-
setback.
Michael, I think he's talking about the distance from the building here
Southeast side there.
to the road.
No, there's a creek, there's a creekway that comes through here. So what's actually setting the building back is we're on the other side of that creek area. And that's why we had to stay out of that setback from the creek. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of lines that we had to conform to for setback from the original approval.
So this is the 80 back.
75.
Yeah. I thought it was 200 feet from the village, but
It's getting close to it,
yeah.
if it just roughly scale. Okay. Let's go to public comment.
Actually, I have a question.
Yep.
Matt and Susan, can you like just describe
Do you have a comment?
the difference between the original concept, landscape concept, and this one? How would you characterize it?
Yeah, I think, again, as Michael said, similar to the architecture, we were trying to make it somewhat, cohesive to that original design. Some of the things that have been improved were really ADA access, really thinking again about how we can make that accurate function where you don't have stairs and several separate ramps. Again, that walkway, I think,
Sorry.
so this walkway here, again, that was really meant to, try to get away from some of the ramp. We had a ramp that was right there, and we thought that may obstruct some of the views. Just with some of the handrails and whatnot, so we thought, really clearing that up on that sight line, being less obstructed, that would really help with the actual visual prominence of that. So those are some of the things that we, just honed in on. In essence, I think it stays in compliance and is very close to that original design, with just some small.
Can we go back to the original design real quick?
We are reviewing the project that's in front of us, Denise.
Yeah, we have it in the set,
This is the project we're looking at.
but they're saying that the one that was approved was 12 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what that was again.
But you can see here, I mean, again, the same ideas were taken forward here. The parking lots were relatively similar in terms of their arrangement and placement. Had a grand terrace, had some exterior spaces, kind of an implied boss with trees, some exterior spaces there. So everything is staying in kind of that same feel and nature of that original design. Again, just enhancing some of those elements and taking them forward, trying to massage some of those things so we don't have stairs. Just really looking at how this can flow and function a little bit better.
Got it. And then just real quick, back to your original, and I was just wondering, what is the planting material right there? When you go into the grand lawn and you kind of made that ADA accessible right there in the back, is that a raised planter on the flanking? And then, yeah. Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, those are water features.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at some of the images that Suzanne was sharing, showed some of those nice water trough features. So looking at some of those there to get really some nice sound.
And so you go straight out into the turf area. Okay.
A couple other sort of functional issues that were different from the original design is they had the trucks driving in the front entrance.
Yeah,
Was like,
you added a driveway.
Yeah, we
But
added
I gotta get to my
this
public comment, guys.
The actual.
but that allows us to make this meadow to be much more user friendly. They had vineyards up here before, so what we really try to do is make this a much more inviting, entry. And of course, we can't go onto our heritage road, so we had to sort of wrap that driveway, but we think it's actually better. So it's very similar to the original concept, but it's sort of refined and fully functional. Like this, we know it can be a functioning winery. given today's standards.
And we did work with our engineering team, civil engineering team, notes grading there, so, all these are approved and,
Yeah, I appreciate getting. away
Does
from
that
this.
answer your question, Denise?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Wanting to go to that letter.
we've spent about 45 minutes on a presentation.
Mhm.
Should have been closer to 15 if I'd been running my meeting a little tighter.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the time. It's a big project and real
Well,
significant for
absolutely.
the valley, so we wanted you guys to understand kind of all the components.
I appreciate it.
Next one.
Yeah, I think we've got 4 different letters of support for the project that are in the file, that everybody's been really excited about the designs. And, that this kind of is a signature project because it's an entry gateway project, the way we see it. So all the letters have been, very supportive of the project, and these guys are all local, well-known vintners and valley people, Stoltman Vineyards. I don't know who some of these are, so some of our client knows some of these people. I do have one short thing I'd like to read into the record for public comment. He couldn't be here today. This is from Russell Chamberlain.
They need to be submitted. We have to keep track of the public comment.
Okay. Anyway, very
Sorry.
supportive of the project, and he's right next door, so they planned on being here today and couldn't be here, so they're the immediate neighbors to the north.
Okay. Okay, do you have anybody online? Or just these two?
Let's see. I do have someone, if you're online, wanting to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Or you could dial *6 when you. Let's see. We do not have any public comment online.
Okay, you could step up a little closer to this deal here. Could I have, it's Leanne Barnes? Yeah. All right, could you step up? And I'm assuming you're not one of the public comment letters that's already been submitted. Okay, so the way public comment works is I ask you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. This board does not deal with a whole host of planning issues. For example, traffic, a number of events, all that kind of stuff. This is a design review board. We have a very narrow purview. Thank you. So what and this is the first of many public hearings on this particular project. We get a lot of people in here who come and they want to talk to us about things I've already mentioned, like number of events, or is this project allowed, and all that other stuff. And that's not us. You can spend your 3 minutes talking about it, but we really ask you to make your comments to us, which would have to do with site programming and layout and that kind of thing. Stephen Zimmerman? Okay.
Okay, so we own all the land on the opposite side of the road.
Okay.
And, yeah, we have about,
Of Zaka Station.
we have about 900 acres. And I think that your site plan is good. I like the fact, I really like all the meadows public. I think you did a really beautiful job on that. I think you did a good job. I think some of the structure or the look of it should be a little bit different, but I don't really, it's not my problem. Only thing I'm really concerned about is that we have our wells and stuff like that, so that you guys are not interfering with our wells. That's one of the biggest things I have. And we also plan on time to go build something on the property as well. And so we'll be doing that. So I think as a whole, you did a beautiful job.
You had a concern about the heights.
I did, but I don't have it now.
Yeah, because it's below, it goes.
Right, it's set down and we're underneath the maximum height threshold.
Well, I wasn't sure if they were gonna put like a hotel up there.
Yeah,
And
no, we're not doing that.
So when I saw that, I said, and so I certainly don't get so involved.
Is there anything you need to say?
I wanted to say, we had an experience with the first property on Foxon, which was right across the road from my house. It was really it became really noisy. They have a kind of a restaurant that went into all hours of the night initially. And we just want to know what the noise factor is going to be like for us across the road, and if it's going to be open till late, which is not part of the design, but the noise factor is kind of an issue for us, and so that was our concern.
I strongly suggest you speak with Francisco Vargas, who is the planner assigned to this project. Get yourself on the list for notifications. You probably received one for this hearing as a mailing, but if you call and talk to county, you talk to Francisco, he'll make sure that you're on the list and he can see that you get them as part of that. You can also speak to him about your concerns about what you've raised here today, because I'm not hearing a lot that's really addressing to our purview, but those are issues that are a part of the planning process, and your best contact is the planner and the applicant.
I think we've addressed all those issues, but
Yeah, I'm not saying you didn't.
right, no, good, great comments, so especially on the water and new noise, so, all right.
All right.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can the second public commenter say their name for the record?
It's Stephen Zimmerman. And her name, Leanne Barnes.
God, thank you.
Sure thing. Okay, you have a burning desire to start, or do you want me to?
I think I have, but just my impression, I really appreciate that we've, reorganized the site a little bit for, to control for damage to the trees and so forth. I'm, honestly a little disappointed about the elevations. They feel a little bit stripped down to me. And I know that this is a new, submittal, but, and what was approved 12 years ago just seems a little more human scale, more detailed, and more kind of fitting with Los Olivos. The south patio, I know this is really early on. I get, what I was interested in is, I know you're going to have a stunning view, but it's going to be hotter in hell back there. And that's why I was looking back and forth with that original design that they had introduced. They had some trees in there, and that's always welcome. And then I'm just as a comment, there's a lot going on here, from the playgrounds, the butterfly gardens, the bus turnaround demonstration, the flex space. I'm just feeling like there's it is just feeling like there's a lot going on, and maybe not the identity that maybe it first had, was what I was just generally impressed with. The Bosque area is so lovely. I'm just, maybe if there's a way to get to it a little easier with your glass of wine and a reason to be there, it would be really cool. So those are just kind of what my impression here.
Okay. This is the first time we're seeing this out of the box after 12 years. I would emphasize a lot of what Denise said. Actually, everything she said. And there's going to be some other things that are going to be, as we move forward, things we're going to be really looking at. One of the things is this will require a site visit, and will probably require story polling. So that's something to keep in mind as far as the timing of that as we move forward. I think Denise hit the nail on the head for me as far as there's a real stark difference, and not that I have a problem with it, but the architecture has been taken into a more simplified, you could almost describe it as cleaner agrarian form. And I think it's lost a little of that connection. I think that's what Denise was talking about. But in contrast, the landscape has become very complex. And again, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with either choice. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how you move forward with your concept as you start to nail things down and take into account things like your Wello, your water features, how you get those all to work out. The shade on that south terrace is just gonna be, it's just gonna get, there's a reason they're requiring you to provide shade for workers. And nobody is gonna wanna be out there. I mean, it gets 105 out there, and shoot, Solvang 105 now anymore. We have 10 or 2 weeks, 10 to 15 days a year that are in the hundreds, or over 100. And you know, and Los Olivos is generally 10 to 15 degrees hotter often. So, I mean, you're really looking at really a scorcher out there. I can see what you're saying. I can see where you're going with your materials, with getting at permeability, but also maintaining your access. I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, especially if you're using DG, because it is not accessible. So there's a lot of things that are going to start as you start to really solidify where you're going, and you're looking at what you want to do and how that's going to work. You know, there's other issues with crushed shale and DG, not that I don't like them, I do, but you know, it's going to be interesting to see how you start to pull everything all together. I think we're going to want to start to see pretty soon. We're going to want to start to see what you're thinking about lighting, both on the building and in the landscape, if you're going to propose it. I also have a little concern. This is just, it's this back of house area back here, the industrial area that's labeled bus parking on this plan. I think you need to actually show how that parking is going to work. Because I'm just thinking about buses and turning circles and everything else. And I'm not sure you're going to be able to use that, especially during production, if that's going to be part of your crush pad activity and some of the other stuff. So it'll just be interesting to see how everything starts to coalesce as you move forward. Really interested in seeing how it works. And I like a lot of what's been done, you know, staying away from the oak tree and some of things like that. So.
Bethany, you're saying the DG is not accessible, you said?
Straight up DG is not accessible. No?
Yeah.
Not an accessible surface.
When it's stabilized though.
Even when it's stabilized, because even stabilized, no, it does not meet ADA requirements. When it gets wet, it gets tire marks in it and everything else. It is not an accessible surface.
For the most part, you know, the main accessible paths will be.
Let's, no, you go first.
Okay, I was on the balance to the architect, so I really appreciate what my colleagues have got to say about the landscaping. I think you're spot on. I'm with you on all points in terms of that. I like also the fact that it's a gateway project. I think that is super important. However, I would clearly say I feel I'm disappointed about the actual look of the building. If it's a gateway project, I would prefer to see something on the level, a concept of a Sunstone Opus, or even an Ahwahnee Hotel, which is kind of felt like it was before it was stripped down. That is my feeling about that. Otherwise, the landscape, I think, was covered by what they have to say.
Couple comments, like it's been said before, there's nothing intrinsically invalid about a modern agrarian language for this type of building. So if you take it for what it is, I think when you look at the number of materials, one thing that might help keep it a little bit more of the place is taking a look at the glass railings in particular. Those seem to be a little bit of a tipping point when I look at this for something that brings it more into an office character or resort character compared to everything else. I think that I would really want to echo what's been said on the landscape front about the south lawn area. And also very much in particular on the southeast side with the children's exploration and the family activity area. I don't think that 4 trees really cuts it for those summer and fall days like we've been talking about. Be curious to see the gate design. I understand the materials that you're proposing, but I'd be more interested to see how those are implemented for the actual elevational design of that later on.
Yeah. All right. A lot of good comments and really excited to see what comes up next, you know, as you're working through it.
Great, no, we appreciate the comments and take them to heart, so.
I'm sure you will. Never a concern. So, item number 3, 24/70 Verizon.
Okay,
Thank you. At 3174 Roblar Avenue. And I hope it didn't rush you guys.
Stabilized decomposed granite.
Nope, hasn't been for years.
My house, it's also flood, but it's all washing.
Even when even if you do a concrete, you do add concrete to it.
I know that it gets mushy when it's,
Oh, it's.
okay.
Yeah, and that's what removes it from being.
Yeah.
Do we have somebody for this project?
Yeah, we have Armando online for this one.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Armando Montes with Sequoia Deployment Services, representing the applicant Verizon Wireless. Verizon is proposing a new wireless telecommunications facility at 3174 Roblar Avenue in Santa Ynez. The proposed project is located at the northwestern portion of the property, with the tower being set back 51 feet and 1 inch from the closest property line to the north and 50 feet 2 inches to the closest property line to the west. The facility itself is designed as a 3-sector, 50-foot tall faux water tower that will sit in a 900 square foot equipment lease area, securely enclosed by an 8-foot tall wooden fence. And the objective of this project is to improve network and coverage capacity in the rural areas of the West Santa Ynez area. And I'll kind of just open it up for questions.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so this is where your tower's gonna go.
That's correct.
And what kind of tree is this?
We don't have it identified yet. We're working on getting that labeled.
I think that's a.
No, well, it could be Valley Oaks. Yep, it kind of looks like a Valley Oak, doesn't it? From the aerial. That one. That's interesting because the site is actually shown as closer to this oak. Interesting. Let's go back and look at that. Yeah, it's almost directly south of the other one on the road. Because the site plan shows it. I'm sorry. So, okay. Yeah, and then, and in fact, this one's even moved over even further. Okay. Do we have, all right, so here, let me zoom out again. Spots. Right. Okay, I think our main questions are going to be Okay, so it's gonna be a faux water tower, is that the idea?
Yes.
And what is the material for the,
There was some renderings
oh, did I not get to them?
in the packet. It was kind of, yeah. there we
Yeah.
go.
So typically the support structures down there on the bottom are they're going to be steel, but painted to match. Then the tower itself will be made out of RF transparent wood, which we would paint. I believe we have a couple of different options we're looking at right now, but somewhere along the lines of like a calf brown.
Are we looking at the one that says, I'm assuming Fillmore?
These are just examples of
I
of ones.
understand, but is this approximately the same kind of height? you're Looking at? Is this one
I
taller?
can't really confirm if I think the one on the right is definitely going to be taller. I think
These look- Possibly not that. That one looks wider. It's got that funky base on.
yeah, I would assume the one we're probably looking at was that the first example, the one that said I think Fillmore on it, the first left one.
50 feet.
Is that what this is?
This says 50 feet over here. Top of proposed faux water tower, 50 feet. And the bottom, so the tower itself is approximately 10 feet tall.
Yes.
So this is 40 feet to there. Okay. What kind of colors are we looking at? Here's your,
Yeah, those are photo simulations. I believe the color we're probably leaning towards is more like a calf brown, unless you guys have a color in mind that you prefer. We're not married to it, but it's just kind of typically what we've done in the past.
Any comment or?
well,
I think the tower color is fine. The fence seems to be quite, if we go back to the one that was before. That's a lot of brown. Just saying.
well,
If there's some other ideas that you guys could come up with, that would be open.
an 8-foot fence.
Yes, with an 8-foot fence.
Natural wood.
Interrupt it with some posts instead of one big solid.
Usually the other question I have is how many lights are we actually looking at here?
I believe this one, it should say right there. I think we're going with 4 or 5 here. Five in total. These lights, are only going to be used in the event of night work. So they'll be manually operated, and then they'll be designed to, when they are turned on, shielded so that the light, is projected down and it's not, very bright outside of, the work area inside.
Armando, you said, the wood, transparent wood, I think you said. What is that? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, it's a specific type of wood.
It's RF transparent, not.
Yeah.
It's for the.
Oh, RF transparent.
Yes, not.
Yeah.
Vision.
Oh.
Thank goodness.
That's
Yeah.
why.
Otherwise, it
that's
wouldn't
why
work.
these are RF transparent.
Okay. Thank you.
Love the way I never use it.
It's like the tower on the building.
Okay. Any other quick questions for Armando before?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the siting of the tower, I know this is kind of a chicken and egg question in relation to the enclosure, but is there a specific reason for why that one quadrant of the enclosure was chosen?
In terms of why we showed that quadrant itself.
Right, why it's located there instead of, the southwest, northwest.
Yeah, so we located it on that southeastern portion to kind of give us as much setback as we could from the property line.
From which property line?
Either really. I mean, you're talking from the north and the west. As you can see right there, we kind of have it marked out. So we have 50 feet going from the west of the property line, like the southwest portion, to where the tower is at, and then also about 51 feet and 1 inch to the north property line.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not have anybody in the audience and we do not have anybody online.
Okay. I think I'll start, and then if I miss anything or anybody has anything they want to add, because I didn't say anything about it, then please jump in when it comes to it. We're going to need to see a materials board. In essence, we're going to need to see what your RF transparent faux wood is going to look like. We're going to need colors for the banding on this and the metal of the support structure, as well as this central pole, if you will, that's going up the middle. Just as a ratio, this is very close to the design that we're looking at. We're obviously not looking at one with this platform, which we don't want. It's better. We would like to see this central pipe, if you will, be fairly recessive, so that it's not, it's not as big. It's not bigger than the supports, not hugely bigger than the supports. So this is a good ratio here in this second tower picture. And then, oh, here we go. We got to the faux wood. So this is great. So this is your faux wood sample. This is your color. Is this also the color you're going to put on the fence?
Yeah. So that Spanish brown will be kind of the colors we paint the actual steel members of the tower. And then the one to the left is kind of the color of the wood.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion that you do something more along the lines of this, where you're going with a gray.
Yeah.
Okay, you want more of a gray color? Like this example?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the name of this tower is here. But this one, the way it's got a nicer gray kind of look. It could be darker, but a gray that contrasts with the brown, I think, is a better choice. Your fence,
I'd like to see it as antique as possible, or whether like
well,
it's been there for a long time.
Look at this picture here on the left.
Yeah.
See, we have a wall and a little covered area, and what we're actually looking at is the typical, fence and everything. I think if you're going to go with a wood fence, I think those lights need to not protrude above it. And I really would like to not see the equipment above the fence either, but I understand that, you've got technical issues there.
Yeah, I mean, we could look into possibly making the fence like a foot taller, just to kind of cover up the generator. I think the other equipment, cabinets and other materials won't be seen.
I think 8 feet. 8 feet is pushing it anyway. I mean,
Gotcha.
that fence was like 6 feet tall, but these lights definitely need to be down.
Okay.
So that, we're minimizing these protrusions up above the fence. And just keep it looking as agrarian as possible. And these light fixtures don't exactly scream agrarian. I mean, It's pretty obvious it's a cell phone tower anyway. So, but what I was talking about was this central pipe.
Yeah, the cable tray right there in the middle. Yeah,
if you could slim that in relation to the size of the thing, I think it would look a little better.
Okay.
But that's pretty much my concern. As far as the color of the fence, You know, I'm gonna leave that up to my board members to kind of chime in on that. Sorry.
Armando again, what was the fence material? I'm sorry, I lost that over.
Sorry, the fence material. Yeah, we're probably somewhere along the lines to match one of these guys right here. I don't know if we have a specific color. Let me double check.
But it's not chain link with slats.
No, it's not.
It's gonna be wood, right?
Yes, it's going to be wood.
Oh, wood, a brown wooden fence.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it might help if the posts are on the exterior to break up that long lineal
Yeah.
vibe.
If you can bring us a detail of the fence that in some way has some fence posts, like at least 4x4 fence posts, maybe 6x6 or 4x6, so that you actually get some definition on the fence and it reads more agrarian and less like an industrial. We just threw a fence around this to keep everybody out.
And then could you go back to the samples of the water tower again that you had? The other one, we had a platform, that one. Okay, now the one at Maddie's Tavern, Bethany, looks like the one on the left,
Yep.
with the platform. And so you're taking exception to that. To me, that looks more authentic than the one on the right.
Well, let's go. Let's talk about that.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think in either scenario, it'd be important to understand what's actually happening on the underside of that. And if there is or is not transparency to visually see the equipment from, street level, I think it would be important to know.
You can't see up at skirt.
That's what we're asking for, is a clearer rendering of what the actual tower might look like.
Well, this is what the tower is.
No, painted, done,
With a little,
a rendering. Not the text.
So what you're saying is you'd like to see this drawing with colors on it.
Yes, not the, what actually walking out.
Without showing the equipment and everything
Correct.
beyond, right?
Right.
So what would you see if you were just looking at this? So like a rendered elevation.
I got all the guts. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I think the ask is just to add some color to this and make it a little bit more realistic.
Well, we're also talking about making it look like an elevation, so you wouldn't see, you'd see these if they were still sticking up, but you wouldn't see all this equipment because the fence would be solid.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And then same thing with the tower and this. So you wouldn't have, it'd be a supplemental drawing in addition to this one. You'd have this rendering of what it would look like.
So like
with the color. Yeah, very similar to the photo sim here.
Gotcha.
And feeling, only you could use these plans as your basis. Okay.
I think like Corten raised panels for the fencing, is that too overused? Instead of wood, to have it look agrarian?
I
It's
think
like,
aging wood would be, they put that hideous fence of the
Well,
house and has aged down.
If you want to give Armando some suggestions about alternative materials for the fencing, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it might bring more.
Yeah, the silver.
it'd bring too much attention?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so maybe leave it wood? Okay.
Make it simpler is easier. Okay. Okay,
Thanks, Armando.
anything else? Okay, how do we want to see him return?
No, I think I got everything. So we said, just to kind of quick review, possibly greater detail on the fence. You want another elevation sheet without the transparency that shows the cabinets and everything, what it would actually look like with everything being hidden.
Yep, with colors. for the materials. And you need to call out the colors on that plan as well.
Okay.
So like you're doing your call outs here, if you make it
Yeah.
like elevation, you can actually call out the materials and then you can reference your fence detail. Because you need to add a fence detail. And then if you've got a gate here, so you'll need to show that too. So if you just,
Okay.
if you show the fence, and one panel and then the gate, as a detail, that would get you through. And I think we could see him if he gets it all, come back preliminary final.
Sure, for sure. Shorten the lights.
Yeah.
Shorten the lights. Yep.
Shorten the lights, yeah.
Don't forget the posts on outside.
Yeah.
On the fence.
They've kind of got posts here anyway, but
They look like they're on the
And plan there.
yeah, they're on the inside and plan. Got it. Yes,
And
they
then,
are.
and then in terms of the color plan for the tower itself, we kind of wanted to like the one example where it had a little bit of gray in it just to kind of break it up.
For the actual, metal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think that's all the notes I grabbed.
Full point? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4, Novat Equestrian Facility, 21 bar 77. And we have some comments from last time, so let me go ahead and Tracy, you want to read the comments for me? Right there.
Include existing conditional architectural photos in your next submittal. Include entrance gate details in your next submittal. Provide a more conceptual site plan that shows existing roads, paths at the same level of details as proposed roads. Provide a larger landscape plan that shows existing landscape to provide context of proposal landscape. And label vegetation that is to be removed at the parking lot. Sheet L2. And it's here for preliminary final.
Yes, and I'm here too, if there's any questions. I'm Gordon Statler.
Okay.
Can I make a quick comment? Just to compliment you guys on your response to that, the winery, that was just right on. That design style is prevalent, it's great, but it does seem like it gets forced in a lot of locations. And boy, I spend a lot of time up there in Santa Ynez with horse events, and that you are just right on. I appreciate your sensitivity to that.
So I'm going to start with our vicinity map here. Okay, so you're on Highway 246, it's about halfway between, and you're on the south side.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you, from a time standpoint, I can just walk you through the specific areas that address these comments or whatever you'd like. I know you guys are running behind.
Okay. There is, this is you want to start here with your presentation?
Sure. That's the request was just to see the existing structures. These are, there's a couple of existing residences on site. There's some existing metal barns below. There's an existing bunkhouse which will be removed. And then there's the older barn which will remain. Be refurbished. And then the next, if you go to the next sheet, this shows both the circulation pattern that was requested, showing the existing roads that will remain as well as be removed. And then a little bit more detail on the gates. There's a Happy Inn Ranch gate that exists there. We'd like to keep that, so we're doing a double gate for fire, and so that can be opened widened up when they have the events and can maintain a smaller dimension when it's normal traffic in and out. And then this is steel pipe.
Mhm. And then the lettering is in there, is that kind of, sorry,
It's just kind of floating at the moment.
floating, okay, good.
There are small tabs that attach that metal to the, so it looks like it's floating.
The River Ranch are attached to this rail, and then the brand is attached to the top.
Yes,
And it's open, Gordon, the gate, it's just like the rails and that's it, right?
yes, the larger portion is open, excuse me, opens generally, and then we have the smaller portion, which gives us the 20 feet for the fire department if they need it. And it's kind of to give us the option of using the larger gates or the smaller gate, because one of the issues is horses could get out, so they're just trying to look at security as much as possible.
And this is the existing gate now.
It is the existing gate, yes, that we're reusing.
Okay.
The next would be if you go to S, the can't see, hold on a second. It's a landscape plan. I think it's the second landscape sheet.
Well, before we run away, this is the existing barn that's gonna stay.
Correct.
This is the residence that's gonna stay. There's an existing shop building, and then there was a building here that's being removed.
There's a clubhouse or a barn that's going to be removed, and then there is a proposed activity center there as part of the CUP, and then that is an existing residence.
Okay, so, just going back into the pictures. This is the barn here that's gonna be removed.
Correct.
This is the one that stays.
Correct.
Okay, and then this is the house that's near the driveway, or is this the AED?
That's the smaller one. That's the AED. The other one is near the driveway.
That's this one here. There's your existing gate. Denise.
Yeah.
Okay. And then these are the full size of the different pictures. And these are the hay barns.
Yes.
Okay, so that is. These are they here,
Correct.
and those can be seen from 154 or 246, right?
Not really, because there's about a 16-foot differential in elevation between the.
Let me rephrase my less of a question and more of a statement. I can see them from 246.
Okay.
When I drive by.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's you're not looking directly at them. Okay.
No. Okay, so. This is your recreational facility?
Yes.
Entrance gate details, but a more cohesive site plan that shows existing roads and paths, and okay. Okay. Yeah. So has anything changed on this structure?
No. The only thing that we changed were the items that were noted.
Details. Okay, so this is the arena.
Yes.
And where would that pole mounted fixture go? That's shown in the lower left.
If you go back to the site plan, those would be out in the open arena areas, to the right of the arena. If you go back to the actual original site plan, they're shown on there. There you go, up to upper left.
This is actually his presentation period, but well, he kind of said, this is it. and
Right.
threw it out there. So we're kind of, just.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I was just, that's why I said in the interest of time,
Yes, no, you're fine. You
Okay.
didn't. do anything wrong.
We appreciate it.
I could wax on forever, but you don't need to know that. You don't need to go to
I
the
know.
place.
So these are the horse barns that are labeled as proposed future horse barns.
Yes, in that lower area.
Okay. Do we have colors and materials for these?
They would be the same as on the color board, which was basically the gray metal, or I'm sorry, green metal and white trim.
What's the roof on them? What's the roof on the barn?
The roof on the barn, you mean the arena or the pardon?
Oh, but I was looking.
Oh, that's metal, yes.
Okay, so that's not on the color board.
The green metal.
It says
Siding.
arena and barns.
Okay, so, that's the same for the arena as well then.
Excuse me, correct.
And by all structural steel, when you're talking about the arena, you're talking about all of these.
Correct.
And then this end,
Yes.
and it looks like there's siding on one side.
Yes, metal siding on the west side.
Is there a reason for that specifically?
Wind.
Wind.
Yeah, when there's a dramatic wind blows through there. And so the idea is covering it and creating a windbreak on that side so they can ride that in windy days.
Gordon, is that side gonna be painted white? That solid wall?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. That is green.
Okay.
So this is where he showed the existing trees around that area. We clouded in the existing trees around the specific area.
There's a tree over here too, where you want to put the arena, right?
Okay, the next couple pages that there's a detail.
And get the trees not identified. So we're gonna be adding.
Yes, yeah, those are added, and there's the screening trees in the center, and then there's mitigation. There's 9 15-gallon that are added for mitigation.
And they're asking you to plant the sycamores?
Yes.
Well, as a fellow allergy sufferer, I would not agree with that.
It's terrible. Oh, there's where it's straightened out. Because they're showing up, there's something else showing up on that plan.
Well, these are both mitigation sycamores. These are Laurus nobilis, used as a tree.
Oh, you know what? I think, you know what, that's a good point. I think they did, initially they were all sycamores, and then they said that we could we could mix those up a little bit. So,
These are.
right. And then there are some existing loquats in that drive area that are they're non-specimen being removed.
Okay. And the arena's going down below as well.
Correct.
Okay, and that's all of it?
That is it.
Non-specimen trees, this is the loquat and magnolia.
Yes.
Right. Okay, he's got it in there. All right. All right, who's here for, do we have any questions? I think we kind of covered it all. Public comment?
We do not, listen, we do not have any public comment on this item.
Okay, board?
You can make a motion.
Knock yourself out.
Motion to, what are we looking for?
Preliminary final?
Motion to, move to preliminary and final approval.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I get a call.
Oh, you do? Okay. Call it.
Technically, it's any further discussion,
Oh, okay, first.
and then.
Hi, Teresa.
Well, the
Going
reason,
rogue.
the
I
only
know,
reason,
that's
the only
good.
reason I said anything.
She told me to read the comments. I'm like, okay, let's go.
But the only reason is because I actually think that the color is too dark. But we'll go with, that was my only additional comment. It's just a comment. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You're good.
Thank
to
you,
go.
board. Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, so, number 5, item number 5, Morehouse single family dwelling and grading. 22 bar 85.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Give me 2 shakes to get the plans up here. Sorry, I was just looking at the rest of my agenda and how we were going. Okay.
Okay.
There was comments last time where provide a photo simulation from 246 showing the house. Does not need to be a full rendering. Study whether the retaining wall along the 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 slope adjacent to the driveway is necessary and provide materials, information, and details for the wall. The grading plan reflects grading standards, does not provide a plan that is optimal for revegetation, for example, behind the wall behind the carport. Same sensitivity that is being given to the house design should be given to the site design, driveway, and overall grading. Work closely with the Stantec to refine the site design. Be advised that green roofs in this area can be very difficult to maintain unless you go to a planting depth of 18 inches. In this case, we're not talking about color of the roof, we're talking about it being green. Provide a landscape plan that is coordinated with the civil plan. Uh-oh.
Okay, before I begin, my name is Alejandro and Devin. Well, I'm part of the Green Associate team that helped with the design of the building. Unfortunately, Devin's not going to be in today, so I'm going to fit in for her. With that said, can we turn to
Oh,
G?
no, we can't. That's the problem. 40. Right?
No, G202. That's
Yeah,
the.
it's hanging up my program.
Oh, sorry.
The file is huge.
Oh, I try to compress it.
Yeah, it's 4 times. You should break it up next time. It's 4 times the size the county wants you to submit.
Oh.
I'm actually surprised it downloaded it correctly. Let's see if I can do this. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
That's huge, huge. No. Let's see if it'll work on
So if you want, I could present the. I'm only going to show things that were submitted, if that's okay.
here. Right? Yeah. Let's see if it'll open on here.
Give us a second.
Okay. No problem.
We're getting the circle of death. Yeah.
Getting that flash out, right?
Oh, it looks like it might work here. So let's try this. Okay, change my share. Okay, now I've only got the one open.
Okay. Okay. So if you would go to page 5.
Okay, so this is on
G202.
right, but I'm trying to get the location.
You're half a mile east of Holly Fresh.
Oh yeah, I remember where this is. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
2413 Coyote Creek, Solid. Yeah. Okay. So is that for? Can you go to the next one? Next photo. Okay. So if you pay it at the lower left corner, do you want to zoom in for a second?
Yeah. This is showing where the picture is.
Right. So those are the 2 photo simulation that we created, A and B. If you look at A, we're like when we created that, and we use Google, and we also use Google Maps along with our Revit software. So we kind of place the mass in into very specific points. So if you look at the view from A, you could actually see only part of it or half of the building. That's where you're pointing out. That's more of a zoom close. And for B, on the B, the perspective view, we're actually approximately 1,000 feet from the project, and that is where you see the entire of the building. And that is where we have kept the concept of keeping the 2 gray tones that it can it will not stand out as like the adjacent properties. So we took the stance where like kind of muting it and kind of blend in with the landscape. Okay. Okay. Do you want to move on to the second question? Was so with that said, we can move on to the second question. Can you go to page 27, please?
I'm just going to scroll through
Uh-huh.
because it gives it a chance to load.
Oh, I see.
'Cause, sometimes it goes and chokes.
Oh, no problem. I understand.
Because our internet is dicey. Okay. Our elevations.
It would be the civil grading plan.
Yep, I'm almost there.
It's
Details. I'm just kind of going through this because you're here for preliminary finals, so we're supposed to look at details, and this way, if it craps out on us, we can say we looked at them.
okay. No problem.
Yes. Is, okay, so here's Stantec.
So I believe the keynote were at the south. You can zoom in at the south part of the driveway, southern part.
And here?
No. Keep going. I mean by the building as it turns.
Oh, up here?
Yes. Yep, that is the portion of where I believe last month you guys were concerned that the grading was a 3-to-1. So we worked with the landscape right now. With the civil engineer, and now we worked it to a 3.5-to-1. So we're no longer having a 3-to-1 grade. So from his standpoint, we don't need any retaining wall. We don't need anything. And when we go back and I'll introduce landscape drawings or the concept, you'll be able to see how we are treating that area at this point. Also,
I think the other comment was retraining wall along the slope adjacent to the driveway is necessary or not. So you removed a retaining wall in this area? Is that what you're saying?
no, there was no retaining area. I believe above where you're pointing out right now, where it says 3.5, below the pool area.
Got it.
That was your concern. You were saying if we would need a retaining wall there.
Okay.
And we looked at it and we don't need it. And okay. And then also, okay.
Number
three, grading.
Third comment was the grading plan reflects grading standards, but does not provide a plan that is optimal for revegetation.
Got it. So behind the carport, it used to be a seam retaining wall. So if you look around, or around there. So now we're gonna have a bio swell. We are actually proposing that, and then when I go now into the landscape, we will see how we integrated landscape and civil.
Okay. And then did you remove the green roof or?
Yes, that is, we're no longer, we admitted it now, and we see it's not feasible based on your recommendation, and yes, we're not gonna, no longer will be part of the project. Okay, so with that.
The landscape plan already? Or is that the other file?
No, that should be on the same file. It should be on page 9. I'm sorry to make you go back to page 9.
Okay. It's cooperating, fingers crossed. Here we go.
Okay, so I think I can only see partially, or only half of the drawing.
You've got lavender over here.
Yes.
3 is swale planting.
Right, that's where the carport
Yes.
is located.
Okay.
Yes, so we're trying to include native plants in the swale mix.
Okay, and your screening here is the lemonade berry. And then you've got on the wall.
We got creeping fig.
And then these are.
Correct. And then number 6, we're, I cannot see. Okay, so we're also bringing in native plants in there. So it kind of helps also with any erosions, anything that can.
Great. So you're here for preliminary final. That's addressing everything that's your presentation, right?
Correct. Based on the 5 comments that were provided.
Gotcha. Quick questions? Okay. Public comment?
We do not have anybody in the audience today, and we do not have anybody online. So we do not have any public comment.
Okay. So the only thing you're missing is your sizes and quantity. You've got your scientific names and your common names, but you need to provide sizes and quantities. So in the aspect of seed, you would say it's a seed mix. You'd give your percentages in the seed mix of each of the plants, and then you say how much square footage you're seeding. For your lavender, you would say, you know, give it a container size, and you'd say how many you're planting, and you would show that. Show a little for each of the lavender.
Hi, this is Devin. I am traveling, so I have really intermittent connections going on right now. But we were told by Alex that we didn't need to have a full-on landscape for this, that it was recommended.
Nope, we requested the planting plan be done all this way. So let me go ahead and finish. It's not going to. Okay, but this is what you will need to do. And I'm sorry if you didn't get exactly what we wanted, or we weren't specific in our minutes for last time, but for final, you need sizes and quantities and locations. So, and the scientific name and common name. So you will need that.
But then would we need also irrigation done then too?
You would need to have your irrigation notes.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything about the sizes and quantities on there. I mean, this is a landscape. This is done by our landscape architect.
Yep. I think there are standards for preliminary and final, and clearly stated in the BAR application.
All right. Yeah, Alex said that Alex just recommended that we do this. Okay.
Well, let me go ahead and finish with my comments, where I was going with this. Everything else is exactly what we asked for. So I would say that we take preliminary action today.
The comment that we had was that the same sensitivity should be given to site design, driveway, and overall grading that was given to this house design, and that we have a landscape plan. And so I'm still looking at gigantic paving, and it doesn't seem like it was really sensitively addressed, and there's no landscape plan. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, there's too much paving?
I'm just, yeah, I mean.
I don't think I didn't have a problem with paving.
Yeah, this is specific for the fire department that we worked with them on having a turnaround space behind the building and not in front of the building.
So,
yeah, it's just not, is it pointed out that was?
The comment about the sensitivity given to the house was not specifically stated about, it was specifically in regard to grading and the fact that they had straight up slopes that just went right in and there was no feathering.
Right, we tried to put everything into one kind of sentence, and it got to be, to me, a little bit too general.
Well, and the fifth comment was provide a landscape plan that is coordinated with the civil plan. But I don't think there was any discussion last time about there being an issue with the amount of paving.
Yeah, that's because we were hoping that it was more sensitively addressed in this version. And so rather than designing it, just hoping that it was going to be addressed as part of the landscape plan. And then here too, this is another south-facing elevation. It's going to be really hot. Just some of those, I don't see those being addressed. So those are my comments.
So we did work with civil. We took out some retaining walls, and we also added.
I'm trying to get my comments from my board at this point. So as far as the presentation, I kind of closed that down into board comments. So
Our
Get them.
deliberations.
Yes.
I'm just a little disappointed that there's not more to it. That was so sensitively.
Yeah, the last thing, only thing that we talked about last time was the erosion, which it seems like probably that. So,
Um,
I don't have any other comments.
um, I know that we had, we talked about site design, driveway, overall grading, but my recollection was it had more to do with grading and the proposed grading and erosion control and the walls. There, in my thought, in my recollection, there wasn't a lot given to the site. So their hardscaping and where they've got it. Somebody's got their,
It's Alejandro, yeah.
yeah, okay, thank you. My concern at this point is, more the, making sure that all of the materials are identified and that they have a landscaping plan that actually has sizes, quantities, so on and so forth. And that there's also a, there's a final landscape plan. And at the bare minimum that the wellow is done and then that they at least address how they're going to irrigate.
Right.
I don't need to see a full-on irrigation plan with layout for piping and all that.
Neither. I just remember the discussion with Puck was to allow the designer to look at the site a little more sensitively and because it was very minimally addressed. And so not to give absolute details on how to do that though. Yes. So I think we're hoping for more of a fleshed out.
Can we go back to the civil plan? Because we did a ton of changes. We did a lot of changes to that specifically with the civil engineer based on those comments. And so what we did, we took out, the concern before was about a retaining wall down at the driveway, but we also took out retaining walls up by the carport and created a swell, a bioswell up there. And then down by the driveway, we actually more leveled that out with the civil engineer, creating less of a slope south of the house. And then worked with landscape to develop, an idea for California natives on that slope outside of the house.
No, I'm recognizing that you removed, there was a wall back here.
Yes, correct.
That's all been removed. It's now a swale. And so the actual grading has been.
I appreciate all the work. Yes, I see how remove the wall and the grading's been a little more sensitively addressed. Yeah, that I see. Yeah.
And I would hazard a guess probably reduced in quality too, in some ways. So.
And the client does not want to touch much of the site. Like we're not trying to re-landscape the entire site.
This is our deliberation. So. I'm okay with it as long as they develop their landscape plan and address all these areas that are disturbed. Because they're gonna have to seed for erosion, so that needs to be addressed in the landscape plan. And then if they're going to do more than just an erosion seeding mix, like for example, in this area here, they wanted to put in more of that landscape kind of mix that they had that was California natives, then they need to define that They need to define the area of the swale and how much, what that planting mix is, percentages and square footage. And if they're going to be doing, you know, lavender over on this slope, then they need to show that. But at a minimum, the landscape plan needs to address what they are doing in all these disturbed areas. And then whatever else, I mean, you know, that, you know, what kind of seeding and all that mix and everything. And then the oak trees, we need sizes and quantities.
Well, that will minimally address what we're talking about.
And I don't have a problem with this, you know, kind of as it is. But I just, because their stated concept of being, you know, really not wanting to change what was there. The addition of the oaks, I think, is a nice thing on the uphill side, and the screening for the neighbor is also nice. But then the erosion control screening or seeding, and then the seeding for the soil.
I can appreciate that. It's a new use on an existing site, so I don't blame them for not wanting to change it because it's lovely, and whether or not it accommodates their use completely, that's another question. But anyway, we're asking them to come back then with the landscape plan?
Yes, I would like to, I'm comfortable with doing preliminary. I think this is where it comes down to, because they're actually agendized preliminary and final. I'm comfortable with preliminary, although I would like to include your note about the patio and lack of cover. Although I think they did at one time have something out there.
I remember.
But anyway, I'm comfortable with the way it is. This is what they want. Okay.
Exactly.
And I think we had a lot of discussion about that. Because I think it's been here at least twice at the conceptual level. So for me, the only issue is the planting landscape plan, which would include planting, sizes, quantities, scientific name, common name, and then it needs to also include the Wello calculation. You know, maybe some notes about how what they're using as far as irrigation, whether it's drip or spray or temporary or whatever. But I don't need to see details, and I don't need to see a valving plan and all the rest of that. So I think the irrigation would just be the Wello and series of notes, basically.
Right.
But yes, the planting plan needs to be a full-on planting plan. And so I guess the question I would have is, if everybody's comfortable with preliminary, how would you want to return for final? Could it be on consent, or do we need to see this report?
Consent.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to grant preliminary approval with conditions as previously outlined regarding the landscape plan and the Wello irrigation, and that they should return final on consent. For the applicant, you should understand the preliminary is your appealable action. So if you are prepared, if you were hoping for final so that you could submit to building and safety and move that submittal along, you can still submit. Go ahead and do that, because preliminary is the action you need from us to go ahead and move forward if everything else is all lined up. So
That's great. Okay.
The final on consent should not slow you down.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you a lot. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
Now
All in favor?
Today.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it was Chris who seconded. All right. We have the planner here for the objective design standards for Senate Bill 9 and the county's telecom ordinance. This is item number 6. If you don't mind, can we take a short break and we'll come back in like 10 minutes? And do that then. Perfect. All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so, let's go back to. Can they hear us? Can everybody hear us?
Hello, yes.
Okay. Do you want the PDF or the PowerPoint?
Whichever is easier, I can go either or, whatever is already open.
No. Haven't done PowerPoint for a while. Let me just share it real quick here. Come on. Okay. You talk and I'll Vanna.
Great, thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Karina Venegas Martin. I'm with the Long Range Planning Division. I also have here Alex Tuttle, Deputy Director of Long Range Planning as well. But today I'm going to be presenting proposed objective design standards for Senate Bill 9, as well as the county's telecom ordinance. And the intent of these proposed objective design standards are really to strike a balance between state mandated types of development. An example of that would be accessory dwelling units, while still preserving community and neighborhood character. So staff is open to receiving comments, suggestions, any modifications to any of these standards, and we can discuss those at the end of the presentation. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to briefly give an overview of each of the project, and then I'll go into detail in the later slides. But Senate Bill 9 became effective on January 1st of 2022. Essentially, it streamlines the process for a homeowner to construct up to 2 primary dwelling units, as well as subdivide an existing single-family dwelling lot. And key provisions of the law allow a local agency to apply objective development standards, so long as they would not preclude the development of up to 2 primary dwelling units of at least 800 square feet in size. And a similar effort occurred last year with the multifamily objective design standards, which also resulted from state law and were drafted and adopted with input from the BAR. So for Senate Bill 9, we use some of those same standards, but we appropriately scaled them down so that they would apply to single family type of development. Now for telecom, that's under FCC's 2018 small cell order, and local jurisdictions may exercise local oversight of issues relating to aesthetics, undergrounding, and minimum spacing requirements of small wireless facilities, provided those requirements are reasonable and that they are technically feasible and no more burdensome than those applied to other types of infrastructure development. And staff also followed a similar approach that the city of Santa Barbara took when they were developing their telecom objective standards. Next slide. Thank you. So SB 9 allows up to 2 attached or detached primary units in a single family zone. The subdivision of a parcel in a single family zone into 2 parcels or both. And Senate Bill 9 facilitates the creation of up to 4 housing units in the lot area typically used for 1 single family home. And projects under SB 9 must be considered ministerially, so without any discretionary review or hearing, which would mean that these projects would not be reviewed by the BARs. And listed on this slide are the single family residential zones that could qualify. And the project would need to be on a legal parcel that is located wholly within an urbanized area or urban cluster as designated by the US Census. Also, ADUs can be combined with these primary units, but they would count towards the maximum total unit amount. Slide. Thank you. And so as you can see from this image, there are various configurations that could occur. So for example, if a lot split occurs, jurisdictions must allow 2 units on each resulting lot. That would include a primary, an ADU, or junior ADU, and those would all count towards the 2-unit limit. If no lot split were to occur, then the lot is eligible to have up to 4 units. That could look like 2 primary units, an ADU, or a junior ADU. Next slide. So this is going to be an overview of the standards. I'm going to go over more in detail, but these standards cannot physically preclude the development of up to 2 primary units of at least 800 square feet. And similar to ADUs, state law dictates a minimum 4-foot side and rear setback, but these units would be subject to standard front setbacks. And the standards that are marked with a blue asterisk were taken from the multi-unit project and scaled to apply to single-family projects. Next slide. For the maximum unit size allowed, staff proposes to use a 0.2 floor area ratio, or FAR, approach that allows a minimum of 800 square feet, which is state law, and a maximum unit size of 2,000 square feet. So on the left-hand side of this table, we indicated a lot area range, and then on the right side, we provided a maximum unit size using that 0.2 FAR. And for projects with 2 primary units, whether that be existing and or proposed, there would be a combined FAR, so that would have a maximum of 0.4.
Can I ask a question real quick here?
Next slide. Additionally, we are proposing to allow up to, that one. We're proposing to allow 500 square feet for an attached garage or carport with standard setbacks, as well as having the same architectural design. We're also, we included an allowance of 20% of the floor area of the new unit to have an attached architectural feature. And that could look like a covered patio, covered porch, a deck, or something similar. And this is an approach that we actually took from the ADUs and carried over.
Okay.
Next slide. For height limits, staff tried to find an appropriate height limit that would still provide for reasonable development while protecting neighborhood compatibility. And we proposed for new attached dwelling units to not exceed the height of any existing primary dwelling unit on the parcel, or 25 feet, and a maximum of 2 stories, whichever is greater. For detached dwelling units, they shall not exceed the height of 25 feet and a maximum of 2 stories. And I'll note that for all new dwellings, whether attached or detached, they will still need to comply with all other applicable height regulations, such as ridgeline, hillside guidelines, and height limits in Summerlin. And one question that we do have for the VAR is whether we'd want 3 feet for pitched roofs. So something to think about.
Whether you do what? I'm sorry, we missed that.
To allow an additional 3 feet for pitched roofs.
Oh, like the regulation for hillside ridgeline currently is, right?
I'll let Alex Tuttle weigh in on that. I'm not as familiar with the.
The current hillside ridgeline says that if it's 16 feet maximum height, unless your roof pitch is 4 and 1 or greater.
Yeah, 4 and 12 or greater gets you an extra 3 feet of height.
Right. Okay.
Great. So for building design, with additions or new attached units, they'll need to be designed and constructed to match architectural style, colors, exterior building materials, and finishes. This can include siding, windows, doors, roofing, light fixtures, hardware, railings. And then all sides of the buildings will also need to be articulated with common details, materials, and elements. And building facades that are greater than 30 feet in length shall include architectural elements such as front porches, balconies, upper story setbacks, projections, recessions. Next slide. Thank you. We are incorporating recessed door and window openings with a minimum of 6 inches for garage doors. All entrances shall have either a projected sheltering element or be recessed from the main facade. The projection or recess shall have a minimum depth of 24 inches. With windows, they shall either be recessed or at least 3 inches from the plane of the surrounding exterior wall, or shall have a trim or windowsill at least 1/2 inch in depth. For the exterior of the primary wall, materials can include wood, composite wood, stone veneer, granite, stucco. However, exposed plywood or glass curtain walls would be prohibited. The building must include at least 2 paint colors, one for the main wall color and another for architectural trim pieces such as siding material. Window frame materials and colors shall be used on all elevations. And then transitions between colors or materials shall occur at inside corners of intersecting walls or architectural features. With garages, they shall feature at least windows, panel door surface, 2 different colors or alternative materials, finishes, and treatments. There should be at least 2 roof forms, primary and secondary. Shiny roofing and siding materials or glossy metallic finish would be prohibited, and the light reflective value percentage or with a matte finish. And any garage conversions shall replace the garage door opening with exterior wall coverings or residential windows and doors to match the existing exterior garage or residence. To protect privacy, staff proposes to implement privacy standards for primary dwelling units that are either 2 stories tall or greater than 16 feet in building height. So for example, an upper story unenclosed landing, deck, balcony that's greater than 20 square feet and faces or overlooks an adjoining property shall be located a minimum of 10 feet from the side and rear lot lines and interior lot lines, unless landscape screening with a 6-foot minimum height is provided along the perimeter areas visible from the landing, deck, or balcony. And upper story windows located within 15 feet of a side or rear lot line and face or overlook an adjoining property shall be installed a minimum of 48 inches above finished floor to protect privacy. And that's something we would also like some specific feedback on if that's an appropriate height limit.
You go back to 6-foot minimum landscaping is provided. Are we talking vertical or horizontal?
I think that we can be open to, I don't know if we've set a standard just yet. So that's some feedback that we can gather.
Well,
it was intended to be 6 feet in height.
Yeah, and
at least 6 feet.
It's nice to add that, but I'm not sure that gains you a whole lot, you know, as far as from the second story. Because you're already above 6 feet in height at your feet, right? So I mean, that's a nice touch, but I'm not sure it actually gains you anything. And then the upper story windows within 15 feet of a side or rear lot line. 48 inches. Well, that 48 inches, what do you, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish there. And Andrew, you can weigh in on this too, because if you're thinking about people looking up, and you're worried about a window that's going down close to the ground so that, you know, they would be looking up into somebody's bedroom or something like that, then that extra height is, yeah, that's going to create, you know, they're going to be people are going to be mostly looking at ceiling if they're close, right?
On the exterior, if you were, for instance, to put a window in with a sill height of 48 inches, that would create something really awkward looking on the exterior in most cases.
It would. Yeah, I would think you wouldn't want to, you maybe want to start at 36 inches, but 48 seems a bit high.
Yeah, the idea was so that if you're on second story, you couldn't easily peer down into someone next door.
It's less about somebody looking into the proposed 2-story and more about maintaining the privacy of the adjacent building.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and
but we did hear another comment from the SBAR about how you need a minimum of 42 inches for egress. So the 48 inches might be problematic for that reason.
Yes, it would be. Yeah. The other thing is that you're trying to legislate some kind of screening, but this goes back to the first paragraph. You really can't.
Per project.
Well, if you're trying to create an objective standard, you're really looking for 15 foot of screening. You know, not 6 foot. And I mean, you're looking for something it's a really, if you're trying to do it with plant materials, it's really tough. Because there are very few things that will do that for you. And of course, you can't go over 8 feet with a fence. So it's very difficult. Yeah, I mean, most of the time what happens is when you're looking at people who are, if you look at plans that developers bring in when they've got a PUD or something like that, what they've got is they just don't have any windows on that side of the house. You know, or if they do, they try and make them so that they don't look directly into an adjacent property window. So you might want to take some thought about that so that somebody's not looking just straight down into it, that they would have to actually turn their head and look, you know, at more of an oblique angle, you know, so that you're making sure that the window openings are not aligning directly.
Okay.
So, but this is very hard to create an objective standard that will actually work to do what you're
Indeed.
accomplishing. So, okay.
Great. So private open space shall be provided for each residential unit at a ratio of at least 300 square feet for units that have 2 bedrooms or less. And each bedroom in excess of 2 shall require 100 square feet per additional bedroom. And this open space must be directly accessible to the dwelling that it serves. The required front setback area shall not be used to satisfy the requirement. However, the side and rear setback areas can be utilized, as well as balconies, patios, decks, and unenclosed porches can also count towards this requirement. And the minimum proposed width would be not less than 10 feet.
Yeah.
And that wraps up Senate Bill 9. If there's any additional comments, we can go over those now, or I can kind of just jump into telecom.
Go to telecom and then we'll come back because I have some questions earlier on in 9.
Great. All right. So with small wireless facility projects that meet the objective design standards, they would be exempt from design review, and these standards would take place of the BAR design review process. And additionally, these proposed standards would apply to facilities that are mounted on structures that are 50 feet or less and located on existing or replacement utility poles, non-pole concealment structures, roof of existing structures, and vaulted underground or something similar. Next slide. Again, here's an overview of the standards I'll be going over. Next slide. And we're proposing that all small wireless facilities be stealth as technically feasible with concealment elements that mimic or blend with the underlying support structure, surrounding environment, and adjacent uses. So for new installations, antennas, associated equipment, they shall be fully concealed within the structure. And if concealment is not compatible with a pole design, then it must appear as an integral part of the structure or mounted as close to the pole as technically feasible. Next slide. All cables, wires, or other connectors will need to be routed through conduits within pole and concealed from public view. And any external conduits or shrouds must be finished to match the underlying pole. Any excess cables shall not be spooled, coiled, or stored on the pole's exterior. And pole-mounted accessory equipment may be installed behind street, traffic, or other signs, but they must be placed in a location that is most concealed. Okay, thanks. All exterior finishes or surfaces shall be painted, colored, or wrapped in flat, non-reflective hues that will match the underlying support structure, as well as be treated with graffiti-resistant sealant. All new poles or structures will need to replicate materials, colors, and finish of existing infrastructure nearby. And replacement poles or structures will need to be of the same material of the existing poles or adjacent poles. And so here's an example of a tier 2 project where the antenna canister and shroud is being proposed to match the existing pole's materials and colors. For shrouding, all antennas and associated equipment shall be installed within a single shroud or radome if feasible. Pole top antennas shall be visually consistent with the design, color, and scale of the underlying pole, as well as not exceed 2.5 times the median pole. For sidearm antennas, the shroud must cover the cross arm and any equipment between the vertical riser and antenna. Next slide. Thank you. So figure 1, you'll see an antenna that is concealed within the single shroud with a tapered cable shroud between the antenna and pole top. Under figure 2, it's an example of a pole top antenna on a wood utility pole. For horizontal extensions, side mounted antennas are prohibited. Unless infeasible, then they shall be placed as close to the support structure as technically feasible and may not extend more than 24 inches over any roadway or abutting private property. Then for pole mounted accessory equipment, they shall be flush with the pole and not extend over any roadway or abutting private property. Excellent. Thank you. Figure 3 is an example of a side mounted antenna on a wood pole with horizontal separation. Figure 4, pole mounted accessory equipment shroud on a wood utility pole. All accessory equipment shall be placed underground in an underground utility district or in a location where the director determines that the above ground accessory equipment would restrict public rights of way. Equipment shall be installed in load rated vaults with a slip resistant cover if they're beneath the sidewalk, and then if they're within the sidewalk, airflow vents shall be flush to grade and may not exceed 2 feet above grade. Here's an example of a flush to grade underground equipment vault. And lastly, the minimum ground clearance for accessory equipment shall be at least 10 feet above the ground level. For orientation, unless behind a street sign or concealment that dictates the equipment orientation on the pole, then all pole mounted accessory equipment shall be in line with the adjacent road or oriented away from the adjacent road when concealed by landscaping or any existing vegetation. And that wraps up telecom.
Okay. When you're talking about, I'm noticing the boxes here and the equipment shrouds. You know, obviously this is to match the pole on figure 1. And as long as, I mean, I would suggest that your, if you want to, that if you're at all concerned about color, this is a good example of what happens when you just take a standard product and plunk it on top of a pole. And I don't object to it, but if it's a concern personally, but if it's a concern of the county, and you want in certain circumstances or just in general, you might want to address color matching the mounting or at least being compatible with it. That's the only thing I see, because this is a nice, they did a nice job here. It really goes together, and that's the only that's the only comment I have on telecom.
Any information as to the height of the equipment itself and how that interacts with the existing infrastructure, or is it just you know, sum of the height of the existing pole plus that new infrastructure is the limit?
I apologize. Do you mind repeating your question? It was a little hard to hear.
Is there any height restriction on the equipment itself, or is the height solely dictated by the combination of the existing pole plus the new infrastructure that's being installed?
Let's see. I'm gonna double check my standards. If we have anything listed.
While you look at that, I can tell Andrew a little bit about history with telecom in the county.
Enlighten me.
Okay, so basically usually the question for the height of structures. So a lot of times we'll get a project in and we'll be looking at it and we'll say, you know, this is really too tall. And the problem is we can't really tell them to put it down, because what they do is They go out, they identify their spot, they find locations where it's the worst, then they talk to people. So they do a lot of work beforehand, and then they determine technologically how tall they have to be.
Yeah.
And I think, and this, you can correct me here, Karina, if I'm off base, or Alex, but when they're selecting these tier 2, this co-location kind of thing, they're working basically with the height of the pole or whatever's already there, and it's just putting the equipment on top. Is that correct?
Mostly, I mean, they do have the ability to add height if necessary. If they can demonstrate, like maybe they have to do a replacement pole in order to get the height necessary to both provide the necessary service coverage, but also sometimes there are separation requirements between, say, the antenna and other equipment, or like the power lines or other utility lines on the pole. So sometimes we'll see projects come in where they do a pole replacement where they increase the height to provide greater separation between the different utilities. But there is an overall limit as to how much they can exceed over the existing pole height if they want to take that approach.
Okay, I think that's what Andrew was asking. Was there a height limit? Okay.
Yeah, I believe we have that in there. And part is dictated by the small wireless facility regulations.
Okay.
But I don't know, Karina, have you found anything?
Yeah, so we do have one standard that we did include, and I can just read it off, that what we're proposing is that no antenna or associated antenna structure shall extend more than the minimum necessary separation between the antenna and other pole attachments required by the applicable health and safety regulations, or maximum structure height permitted by our section, whichever is less. So there is a little bit of regulation that's still added in that standard.
And it looks like here you already do have the color and finishes that you're covering here.
Yes, yeah.
So that was my only comment. Okay, so if we could go back up, I'm just gonna start at the top with Senate Bill 9. Okay, so I just wanted to come back into these. So when you add a lot split, or you add units but no lot split, you can have up to 2 units, 1 ADU, and what's a JADU?
Junior ADU.
It's a junior?
ADU, yes.
What's the
Usually-
definition of a junior
They're
ADU?
very small. I think the max is 500.
499.
Yeah.
499, just under 500.
The
Okay.
most common application is retrofitting a garage.
Right. Okay. So if you have a single family home, then you can do 2 units. It's the same thing. One, okay. I have one additional, okay. If you do the lot split, that's when you can make 2 primaries on 1 lot. Okay. So my question is, if you do a lot split and you do 2 primaries, can you then come back in later and say, I want to do a lot split, and I can put,
More.
yeah, it can, does.
No, so
A bit of a rabbit hole, but
The future is that you're.
So once you split the lot, that lot, you only get 2 units per parcel. So it's a maximum of 4 total, 2 per parcel. If you don't split the lot, then you get a maximum of 4 units. And that could look like 2 primaries, and then 2 additional ADUs.
Yeah, so either way, whether you split or not, it's basically a max of 4 units per existing lot in different combinations.
okay.
And that would be inclusive of ADUs.
Okay. And then this, I just wanna, let me understand this. Okay. So if the lot area is 4,000 square feet, then you can add the maximum unit size, so say I have a residential house on it that's 2,000 square foot. I can add up to 1,800 or 800 square feet units. Is that how that works? I'm trying to understand how many units I can add based on the lot size and what size they can be.
Well, we can't preclude a parcel to have at least up to 2, whatever they can fit, but they're allowed to have a unit size that is a minimum of 800 square feet, or up to 800 square feet, I should say.
Okay, so
But you can't have more than 2 primary units on any lot. So it would be 2 primary units of at least 800 square feet, and then plus any potential ADUs that would be subject to the ADU regulations.
okay, but I'm saying, I'm trying to pull a concrete example here. I've got 1/10 of an acre. And I have a house on it that's 2,000 square feet. So does that mean that I can do up to 3 more units that are maximum of 800 square feet each?
No. You could get 1 additional primary unit of 800 square feet.
Okay.
And then you could potentially get if you could meet the ADU standards, you could get an ADU or junior ADU.
Okay, and an ADU would be 1,200 square foot?
If you met the various criteria, yeah, potentially.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, I'm just
yeah.
trying to understand.
So yeah, you could potentially end up with 4 on 1/10 of an acre. You could potentially end up with 2 800, your existing residents, an 800 square foot new residence, plus 2 new ADUs in the 500 to 1,200 square foot range, depending on how you could make it all work.
That's how it all works considering okay. So height limits. If new attached units, not to exceed the height of the existing primary dwelling. So again, I'm going back to my 1/10 of an acre, 2,000 square foot house, which for your information, pretty much occupies the whole 1/10 of an acre. So it's a single story house. Say I've got a single story house. Does this mean that it's not to exceed the height of the existing primary dwelling or on the parcel, or 25 feet and 2 stories, whichever is greater? So I could, in theory, build a house on top of my house, as long as it met the other requirements, No, because it's not.
Yes.
Okay, I could.
Yes, potentially.
Okay.
Probably not the full it wouldn't be the full 2,000.
No, obviously it wouldn't be the whole size of the house, because an acre is definitely going to fall into that up to 4,000 square feet. So I would be limited my second story of 800 square feet, basically.
Yeah. And I will say that, we're still trying to play around with these square footage numbers. So if you have strong feelings on those, feel free to share them.
Well, I just know that I'll give you a very semi-personal example. If you have a parent who's living in an existing single-story house and that parent is aging out and they want you to move in, but they don't want you to move in with them, and they're looking at putting an apartment or another unit on top, so you're looking at somebody who's going to be moving into something potentially that's 800 square foot or less, to be able to take care of their parent. So it seems like they should, in certain circumstances, it depending on how you're writing your code, you could have a lot of instances where you have smaller houses, 1,200 square foot or 1,400 square foot, or even up to 2,000 square feet, where you're trying to provide an apartment. It's not something you want to rent, but it's something where you're trying to get, and I know you can't parse it that finely when you're looking at planning development, in your permitting process, but for somebody who's trying to create that second residence, in essence, a second primary residence, and they want to build it right on top of the other because their lot's dinky. Because there are a lot of places just outside of Lompoc. There's places in quite a few lots here in Santa Ynez that are like that, where you've got a small house on a fairly small lot. And yet, if you're doing something like this, you're going to be limited to, you can't just go up. You can't just repeat the house unless it falls under that 1,200 square foot and meets all the other criteria as an ADU. You couldn't just plunk it on top. So you might look at a situation where there could be a specific parameter of size based on the lot being very small and wanting to get that unit,
Percentages.
Yeah, or a zone.
Or in relation to the existing primary unit.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you can imagine, it's hard to develop regulations that can address all possible scenarios. This isn't going to be a solution that works for everybody.
Well, for example, in this situation, Alex, what I would be thinking is like, you could say, okay, for up to 0.2 acres. If your thing is up to 0.2 acres, and the existing primary residence is anything up to 1,800 square foot or 1,600 square foot, pick a maximum. You can build directly on top of it, the living area, anywhere from 800 to that 1,800 square foot, and that becomes your maximum, that cap. So if the house is 1,600 square foot, you can do between 8 and 1,600. So you give somebody a range of what they can do, and then you require them to provide the parking that you would always require, and so on and so forth. That you still have to comply with all those rules, but you could assess essentially on a small lot like that, you're actually providing for a sizable residential space, because most of the houses that I personally have lived in are anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet, 1,400 square feet, but it seems like 1,200 is a little small for most of these homes. Most of those homes that I've lived in, they're a 3-bedroom, small 3 bedrooms, but, and so you're looking at something about 1,400 square foot, but that's not going to fall in, you could just build something right on top of it, I guess is where I'm going. So it's just something to think about if what you're trying to do, because what happens is that if I have my 1,400 square foot house, and I'm limited to 800 square foot on top of it, if I want to go up, because that's my only option, then I'm going to have a really funny looking building. Because it's expensive, because it's going to be all lopped off. It's not going to be just an extension. I don't get to use any of the structural walls. I've got to put extra structural load-bearing walls in the middle of the building somehow. I've got to carry that because it can't just be the same outline. I can't have essentially a straight-up extension, a second floor. So it's just something to think about, because that's the easiest. If what you're trying to do is just put a second unit on there. And I agree. I don't think it should be like 2,500 square feet or even 2,000 square feet, but something in the 1,400 or 1,600 seems maximum of 1,600, but something in that range is something to think about. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would assume
That's why the percentage.
The 800 and 1200, to me, it seems like they're trying to link it to the ADU requirements because 1200 is kind of the standard for your baseline scenario and 800 is the scenario for parts of the county that have more restrictions on them. So to me, it's digestible enough that it synchronizes with some other regulation going on with the ADUs, but maybe it's the lot area buckets that shift around a little bit rather than the maximum unit sizes. That's just my hunch.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, you know, what I'm talking about is, you know, I'm throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks kind of a thing, but the specific scenario I was describing is a completely new thing. There would be nowhere else in the county's permitting or ordinances or anything that would be something similar to that. So it's not exactly the same thing. So it's a little outside of the comfort zone, but
But you're using it as a tax.
no, I'm using it as most of the housing that people I know and other things like that. I mean, people who are living in, you know, so-called workforce housing. A lot of the housing in Buellton, for example. It's, you know, you've got 2 or 3 bedroom, and they range from 1250 to not quite 1400 square feet. And the easiest thing is to just be able to go up. Because you're on these little dinky postage stamped lots. You cannot build out, you have to go up. And if you're gonna go up, if you have to cut it off so that you now have, you know, just this little area. Now I've got to get supporting members. Yeah, I'm gonna have to beef up my wall, but now I have to create a completely different load-bearing wall in the middle of the house and make it line up with the existing walls and floor plans. So it becomes really expensive. And so if you really want to foster it, I'm saying at least work with the outside walls, you know, so that you can actually create that. Because you're gonna have to rip off the roof and everything else and
Demo the whole thing and start.
or start over, right? But that's just my thought, and I don't know that anybody would actually ever do it, but it's just what I was thinking. So. But that's those were my questions. Do you guys have any other
I
questions?
had one question on the paint trim slide where it says you have to have 2 minimum paint colors and differentiate.
Yep, there was a misspoke.
Yeah, this one, I feel like this language is really tailored to specifically on the paint colors. That's tailored to stick build with wood siding. And I think if you're trying to carry that through the idea of having a variety of materials and colors and things, you might want to consider that for buildings that are of a different character, you know, like all the things listed right above it. I'm not quite sure how you do that, but just, you know, in order to put on some safeguard of making sure that the building isn't all one thing all the time, everywhere.
Okay, yeah, that's good feedback. We'll take another look at it for that standard.
Where it says another for architectural trim pieces, I think you'd be better served, since you've got such a nice list above, you'd be better served to talk about the kinds of trim you're talking about, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fascia, window trim, arbors, posts, you know, all those kinds of different things. You're gonna have different, because the way this is described here, I couldn't come in with stone on the first floor and board and bat on the second floor and have 2 different colors.
But you could come in with a white plaster house that has white trim on it.
Yes.
Per these regulations, which is strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
And Andrew, I think is parsing this because you're talking about paint. Paint specifically means it's applied to a surface. And in this case, what he's talking about is an integral color stucco.
Yeah, I think, that wasn't the intention, so I think we
No, I
take
know.
out the paint reference. But I think also that with the two colors, if perhaps maybe if we don't tie it to where the second color has to be the trim, you can achieve your two color or your color differentiation by other means as well.
Just broadening it somehow to,
Well-
incorporate stain, metal finish, something.
And instead of saying paint colors, you might be better served by saying color of material. Because at that point, it includes everything, because your stone is a different color from your stucco, which is a different color from your wood. And then you can have a second sentence there that says, for example, body color and a trim and detail color, or accent color. You can call it an accent.
Yeah. Thank you.
Body and accent.
Yeah.
That would be a more professionally jargonistic way to describe it.
In a nice simple.
Body and accent, okay.
Yeah, because then that you're not looking at lots of different material lists. Then somebody will go, well, you told me I can't do that. Or you told me I had to do this. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can revise the language.
So, yeah.
That's all I have.
Yep. No, I had that one too. Okay, is that it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys have a great day.
You have to do the minutes before you leave. If not, we won't have quorum.
Yeah, but if you leave, the meeting stops. So. Okay, so, Chris, you want to screen?
Yes, if I can get access to screen share, I will do it.
Okay. And we gotta bust a move so that we can get through this so that Chris can leave.
The first project, you're right, 15 is 45.
I know. I was
Okay, there,
trying
Chris, are you able to share your screen now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right, can you see my screen?
We can. Let's scroll down to the first one.
Okay, and it's got today's agenda on it, right?
Yep.
So this is the consent item number 1.
This is, it's not a comment. This should be a condition of the motion.
So I also put it in the condition as well down here under the action. But I can delete the comment if you want.
Clarify that the light fixtures. How about you say the proposed light fixtures will replace the light fixtures on the house?
Yeah, that still wasn't capturing that.
Okay, that's good. And I think because it's in the condition, I think that maybe you just put a note there, see the motion for the condition. Okay, next one.
Number 2.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, this is gonna be the hard one.
Are we allowed?
There were a lot of comments, but maybe we can consolidate some if needed.
Hold on a second. They presented it to us, and so we can talk about it because it's, what we're limited to talking about in the minutes, is what we talked about in the hearing. Okay, which is another reason we do these now.
Yep.
Before we forget. The other thing is that, what happens is that you're right that we don't want to be, because we didn't actually offer the direction that we wanted it to look like with one exception. We didn't want it, we're not trying to replicate what was presented, was approved, okay?
One is really gonna comment, it's really apply the direction. Okay, we like where it sits. Do they care?
Well, it's a way of acknowledging the work they've done. So, the proposed site layout, clarifies, it clarifies, truck, production access, as well as avoids impacting existing mature trees. I would say production access, because it's specifically so they can get their trucks in there.
Clarifies production access as well as
Avoids previous tree impacts. So that's a nice way to, we always like to start out with a thank you. But,
Okay.
okay, the look of the proposed buildings is a stripped down, I don't know if we want to say stripped down, but I say it's a modern, a more simpler modern style. Well, how would you describe it? Agrarian.
Ugly.
You didn't say that.
I want as close as I could before I got cut off.
Minimalistic or something, I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll say this, the look of the proposed buildings is a minimalistic interpretation of agrarian forms.
Which he mentioned common that would be like an office building. So certain moves.
Okay.
That was said.
Agrarian forms and yeah, leave out motto. And is not as successful as the previous design.
Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna go with that. Please revisit.
Okay, well, I was gonna add successful as the previous design in this location. Okay, so,
Hopefully that's a clue to that,
well,
to revisit that.
okay, so you can take out number 3.
I think a lot going on is kind of.
No, we need to change that too.
Informal.
I think we could, well, let's go to 4. Landscaping, especially compared to the building, is much more complex. I'm not sure whether this complex, I'm not sure that this, we're not sure that, oh, hold on a second. The level of complexity
We're not sure.
may not, lost my word, damn it, Chris.
I don't know.
May not transition successfully as the project moves forward. Something like that. And we're looking to see how this, I want to say something about that. Because that's what I was talking about. The level of complexity it's gonna be difficult for them, and I'm really interested to see how it moves forward. That's what I was saying, is I'm not sure they're gonna be able to transition that. They're gonna be able to realize this level of complexity as the project continues.
I think that gives them something to respond to. Oh, that's great.
Okay, complex. Okay, landscaping, especially compared to the building, is much more complex. You could say, is much more complex than the previous design, and then period. And then you can say, interested to see how the level of complexity transitions as the project moves forward.
I'm sorry, I missed that comment. Can you say it one more time? Interested?
See how the level of complexity is carried forward as the project progresses, as the design progresses.
As the design progresses.
Oh, design evolves, yeah. Design evolves. And then you can take out the rest of that. Yep.
Great.
Site visit is required. Semicolon, story polls. Very likely required at the same time. Okay. Okay, so number 6, there's a large number of paving materials. Not sure how ADA access let's just say there's a large number of paving materials. We'll be interested to see how ADA access is maintained as the design moves forward. And then you can just say, you can do that a period, and then say decomposed granite is not ADA accessible. And you can even say stabilized decomposed granite is not ADA accessible. Please include, or you could say include conceptual lighting plan for building and landscape. 8's fine. Andrew, yours was 9.
And something about a dark sky, we didn't mention it, but is that gonna be the code already?
I believe it is, and you can add, we'll wait on that.
For 9, I might suggest consider alternatives to glass railings, something like that.
Yeah, you might want to keep as they seem to be more
Sure.
office building in character.
Okay.
As they seem to be more office building in
Nope.
character. Take out or resort.
Got it.
Okay, so let's go through it again. 3 is, I think we can take 3 out. Does that capture everything? Does everybody feel we've got everything?
Here's my gate design moving forward. Number 9.
Well, that was one of the last things mentioned was,
Yeah, it needs to be clarified.
well,
Material? We said.
please include gate design
And
Yeah.
material,
and
They brought up Victoria 10. But it's never-
right.
please include gate design at next submittal.
The one thing we're missing is the shading, more trees.
Ah, yes, okay, so, yeah, that was after 3, between 3 and 4.
Okay,
The south facing patio lacks any shaded areas and will be exceptionally uncomfortable during hottest days. Or you could just say during summer. And then appended to that, yeah, right there, also consider, shade for the southeast side,
Yes.
side of, building. Okay, I think that gets it. All right, that's the hardest one. When you say clarifies, isn't that IES? Or is that? And the first one,
IES.
yep.
scroll down. This one could be pretty quick. Okay, it needs to be very involved. Prescription, present plan, the details. Center pipe should be smaller than single size. It's just more, I think you could just say, reduce the central pipe diameter if possible. Or just say reduce the central pipe diameter. And I don't think we need similar, yep. It's just more of a gray color for steel. You can leave out if possible, and take that off, because I really wanted them to reduce it.
Okay.
Suggest more of a gray color for steel support, similar example for metal, lower light.
Can we add contrasting? Or did you,
Where?
before gray color,
Um,
or do you think that communicates it enough?
It should just say suggest a gray color for steel supports to provide contrast.
There you go.
You can leave that similar to, you can leave that to provide contrast. Okay. You say the height of the lights should not protrude above the fence. You should just say the height, they say the height of the lights should not be taller than 8 feet. That's just the height of the fence.
Should not be taller than 8 feet.
Actually, you could just take that all out and say lower lights so they do not protrude above the fence. Keep equipment below as much as possible. Your second, no, that's good. Take out the rest of it.
Take out the first part or the second part?
First part.
Okay.
Yep, lower lights so they do not protrude above the fence. Keep equipment below it as much as possible. That's perfect. No, provide detail of the fence showing fist posts on the exterior.
Showing of on the exterior.
Exterior. And then so as to provide definition on the fence. And then period, and then you can take out request all the way to more. Yep. A more agrarian less industrial look is desired. One member thinks platforms along the long type is desired as shown in the example. That's fine. Board request a rendered elevation with colors. This, in addition to, for board, you can say, in addition to provided elevations, add rendered elevations, rendered versions of these. Of the same elevations. Okay, that's fine. Take out the rest. Does that get it all?
No.
Okay. Yep, no, that was fine. Go. Primary approval grant, yep, okay, Morehouse. Include, landscape plan needs to include, shall include sizes, quantities, names of plants, and to account.
Well, what she mentioned about the fire department, right? I mean, you're gonna have specific dimensions that maybe.
Yeah, that was Denise's thing. I think the balance of the board, we gave it preliminary, so that comment isn't pertinent, to come out. Yeah, even that one, the patio, because it's,
Yeah, just landscaping stuff.
notes regarding irrigation and well of contact, calculations. Show the location of planting, seeding, notes regarding irrigation,
Wait, is this for the action or for the comment? I'm sorry.
the comment,
Include notes.
no, down. Read further. Notes regarding irrigation. I'm putting regarding in between notes and irrigation.
Got it.
Go. Add willow calculations and, okay. That's fine. It could be made clearer, but I'm not gonna mess with it. Okay, you know what, do we need, how do we feel on number 6? Is there anything we need to put in there, or can we just?
We're gonna have to just revisit on their side. Do this again.
No,
Okay.
that's probably it.
They're all in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can just say, just eliminate, C-bar comment under public comment, put none. And then ours, we didn't have, you could say there was, we just had a discussion. Actually, let's do this. Leave number 3. And I would say 6-foot screening, regarding 6-foot screening. And then I'd make a colon. And then I'd say, this is difficult to add, to screen with adequate loop landscaping. And then go to, maybe instead look to see if you can require window openings are offset. And you can take the rest of that stuff out.
Okay.
Maybe
Sound like
look-
okay?
Requiring window openings to be offset. That's a question mark too. As a, no, 2B offset, and then question mark. It's a suggestion.
Okay.
It should say, specifically, you can remove, on number 4, regarding paint color. I'm gonna change this all up, so just start typing new.
Okay.
Regarding paint color. Colon. Suggests color of materials instead of paint color. And what was the other thing that we said?
As they relate to main body and.
And then period. 2 colors. And then semicolon, suggest body and accent.
Trim.
Mhm. Accent, trim, / details. And I think those are the only 2 things we want to keep. I think everything else we can take out.
Right.
Oh, you just lost, oh, that's fine, right,
And then delete these 2 top ones, right?
correct. Is that good?
Yeah.
What was the action? But I guess I can talk to Teresa about that.
You can talk to them about it.
How about the 48-inch window thing?
Yes, that would be the next one, go ahead. 48-inch window height is problematic on several counts. And then you can.
Window sill height
Mhm.
for upper stories.
Window sill height.
Yeah.
Is problematic due to requirements that it be no higher than 42 inches.
Problematic due to egress requirements and.
I just put that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
You're,
Aye.
okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
nice to
Chris.
be here. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead and